Tonight on the Black Channel. Well, what happens when you tell yourself that you live in an alternate reality and you just got everything pat down? And the white supremacists, you got them wrapped around your finger because you are the necessary Negro. Well, one officer, Tatum, done got his wake-up call. You know what? There's nothing more pathetic than a buck-dancing, ass-kissing Uncle Tom Super Sambo who has deluded himself into thinking that when things get thick, he can start yelling racism. Believe it or not, Officer Brandon Buck-Dancing Tatum, y'all, who has made his entire reputation saying there ain't no systemic racism, ain't no racism. Black folk need to quit whining and moaning and complaining, talking about racism. Just get out there and get to work. What he's revealed is that, like all these coons out here, yeah, he really only says that garbage when he thinks the white supremacists are attacking everybody else. But just like Skip Gates, Candace Owens, and all the rest of these coons, the jig is up. You show that you know racism exists. You just think you're playing the game. But the moment that they turn their sights on you, all of a sudden it flips. Now, for those of you who don't know or unaware, we'll just go ahead and get into it. One of the first tweets that happened is because of this Jake Shields. Jake Shields used to be a UFC fighter. Now he's just a former mixed martial artist, current full-time white supremacist. And his record is this stuff is just it's so damn long and lengthy. It would deserve its own program. All you need to know is Jake Shields is a former UFC fighter and current white supremacist. And he's been saying racist stuff, white supremacist stuff the entire time. This is not new from Jake Shields. He's been doing this stuff going back years and years now. Well, Officer Tatum wound up being in Jake Shields' crosshairs because Jake Shields don't like blacks and he doesn't like Jews either. Well, Officer Tatum Israel's done a whole lot. You know, they've been paying social media influencers. Tatum claims he wasn't paid the $7,000 they're offering, but nobody believes he hasn't been compensated, hadn't been paid. So now he's basically, he went to Israel and he had to tell Benjamin Netanyahu that, you know, they spit on me when they got over there, but, you know, I know everybody wasn't spitting on me, you know. I mean, that's literally what happened. He said they spit on him when he came over there. He was coming over there to kiss their butts, and they wound up spitting on him, literally spitting on him. So anyway, they got that smoothed over with him, and Jake Shields is like, well, how much do you think Israel pays this coon? What? Oh, man. Now, this is the white dude. This is Jake Shields, one of Brandon Tatum's. He never had a problem with Jake Shields before. Everything's cool. Everything's straight. White supremacists, and we ain't worried about that. Y'all niggas y'all just sensitive. If black folk can say nigga. What? Oh, no. You gonna get drugged. Why, Officer Tatum is one of these, if black folks can say nigga, why can't white folks? Y'all, you should be doing that right there. Okay, well, you know what? I'm going to let the white man have you. I'm going to let him have you. Since that's the side of the fence you on, I'm going to let the dogs have you. And this was crazy, y'all. So Jake Shields says, how much do you think Israel pays this coon? And Tatum says, look at this, racist.
Nigga, what?
They hate Jews so much they start going crazy, showing their true colors. Homeboy out here calling a black man a coon. What a coward. People, I thought there wasn't no racism. I thought you just thin-skinned. I thought there wasn't any white supremacy. I thought there wasn't any systemic racism. I thought they don't matter. Why don't you just ignore them? That's not a problem. People, just as soon as he got hit, all of a sudden racism popped back into existence. Yeah, now that it's hitting him, all of a sudden that was all it took. Just like Skip Gates, ain't no racism. Get your hands behind your back, nigga. Racism! Oh, so the rest of us weren't lying the whole damn time. So the rest of us weren't lying all this time. Yeah, as soon as they get him, now racism exists again. Oh, no, folks. This ain't a one-off. This is not a one-off. You see down here, old Jake Shields doubled down on it. Oh, Jake didn't run from it. This is a real white supremacist. He says it, he don't run from it. So if you want your white supremacy honest, Jake Shields is your Klansman. He's your dude. You see what he says down here? I'm not racist against blacks, but you're a textbook definition of a coon. You support genocide for shekels. Well, folks, I gotta tell you, I actually agree with Jake Shields. What? Damn! What? Folks, where's the lie? Where's the lie? If you want me to go to war against Jake Shields for saying this, you got to tell me where the lie is. Will someone please point out to me where Jake Shields is lying? Please somebody show me where Jake Shields is in error. If we gonna go to war, and if you're gonna tell me I got to go hammer and tong at him, okay, you got to show me where's the lie, where's the error, where's the mistake, where is he wrong? Tell me about that. We don't even have to talk about justice, as a matter of fact. Show me where he's being unjust. But yeah, first and foremost, by the way, where's Jake Shields lying? So I must say I have done a thorough review of the facts and the information as they currently sit before me. Jake Shields has been accused of racism for calling Brandon Tatum a coon. I'm like, well, he's anatomically correct, actually. He is anatomically and sociologically correct. So I'm trying to find out here what the mistake of the error is. This is not a clerical error. It's not a typographical error. It's not an etymological error. What's the problem here? Tatum don't like it. Well, I mean, coons don't like stuff. Coons are always sensitive. They're always sensitive. So, yeah, there you got that. To the mods in the chat room there, go ahead and make sure you put Margatina J to the side. Looks like we're going to be talking to them before the program is over. So, when I put up the Zoom there, Margatina, don't worry about it. You will be invited probably here to sit back, smile, and dial. So, do not worry. You wanted my attention? Oh, I think you're going to get it. I think you will have it. In any case, so Jake Shields said that, oh, Brandon Tatum's a coon. Brandon Tatum's like, who paying me? You see, this is where you get to this very embarrassing, humiliating stage of cooning. When you get to this very embarrassing, humiliating stage of coonery, when you need to be able to call out racism, you need to be able to call out the whites, you need to be able to call in the cavalry and rally the troops. This is the moment where Officer Buck Dancing Tatum needs to be able to call in backup and reinforcements against white supremacy, and everybody looking at him like, nigga, you like we haven't seen the last decade of what you've been saying. You have no reinforcements to call in. You have no backup to call in. There is no cavalry for you. You are on your damn own. You have been disowned. You on your own, partner.
And deal with it, nigga.
You're on your own. And this white man knows it. Just like Rabbi Shmuley did when he hoe-slapped Candace Owens. When he got up in there and was pimp slapping the hell out of Candace Owens. He told her, black folk don't even roll with you. And I told y'all then, do you realize what Rabbi Shmuley is saying? That white man is saying, baby, but I know, we already know the record. Black folk don't rock with you, so I can just do you how I'm gonna do you. Ain't nobody gonna call me racist or nothing. I get to do you how I wanna do you. And he sure did. He's like, black folk ain't coming to back you up. You don't have a people. You don't have a people to back you up. And the white folk ain't gonna go to war with me on your behalf. So, baby, it's just you and me, and I'm just doing you how I'm gonna do you. Well, Brandon, hey, bruh, this white man knows, nigga, you false flagging with this. You know he racist. He know he can double down. He's like, dude, black folk don't rock with you. He knows it. Jake Shields knows, man, but you ain't got no black backup. There's not a single black person gonna come at me on behalf of Brandon Tatum. Jake Shields, that's what he's saying. There's not a single black person gonna come at him on behalf of Brandon Tatum. Man, Brandon was just, he needed this moment. He done sold his soul all these years. He needed this moment to call out white supremacy. And the white supremacist told him, bro, you ain't got no people. You're the textbook definition of a coon. What's Jason Black supposed to say? Well, you know, that ain't quite right there, dude. You know, I do not support you using that word. I don't have to support it. I also don't have to fight it. Damn. Yeah, Officer Tatum, I don't have to back it up, but I don't have to help you out either. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not giving Jake Shields a pass. I'm just not gonna get in his way. Let the dogs have you. Let the dogs have you. The old Tatum boy was rough on him, y'all. Y'all see, I be trying. Oh, he was trying to go back in the crate. Shh. By the way, Margaret Jeter, when I tell you you're gonna have to call in, you're gonna have to call in. If you don't, make sure y'all put this page to the side, because when I open up the Zoom, if they don't call in, you know what we do. You get the boots. Don't be scared now. Don't be scared now. Officer Tatum went back through the crates and had somebody go back through the crates. And old Jake said, while I despise Zionist Jews and blacks. What? While I despise Zionist Jews and blacks, there's nothing I loathe more than whites who do the bidding of the Jew. Those people betrayed both their nation and their race and need to be held accountable. Is this Jake Shields saying that he despises blacks? Damn sure is. And you didn't have a damn problem with it until he started talking about your raggedy, sloppy ass. He did not have a problem with it until you didn't have a problem with Jake Shields until he started sniping at you. All of a sudden, you concerned about folk talking about black folk like a dog? All of a sudden? Yeah, when he comes at you. See, when you thought you were over there with your white wife and you were off in little fairy tale Never Land, and you know, I have graduated out of black society. All it takes is one white man to bring a coon back down to earth. All it takes is a white man with a little name and a little notoriety, and that was it. Your damn balloon is deflated. That's all it takes, y'all. It didn't take tons of it. And Brandon is still smarting, y'all. Brandon is still smarting. Is this you, Jake? I say nigger all the time, you dumb Jew. Looks pretty racist to me. Brandon, it wasn't race. Wasn't no racism before they started beating you down. Brandon, you don't get to jump up on a random Tuesday and start talking about racism and screaming racism. Bro, you got to earn the right to do that. You don't get to sit up here and say racism doesn't exist and we got documentation. Racism don't exist. No systemic racism. Black folk are their own worst enemy. Black folk are the problem. And then as soon as they go at you, racism is racist. You know it's racist, right? You take a look at how Jake Shields responded. This was 9 hours ago, people. This was today. Nobody cares about racism anymore, Tatum, and I treat people the same regardless of race. You are just a coon, which is why I call you a coon. I do think some races have more crappy people than others, but I'm not going to treat anyone bad because of race. Well, okay. All right. So in any case, yeah, buddy, the dude ain't backing down, and old Brandon thought, hey, look over here. Somebody didn't tell Brandon you not going to be able to cook Jake because, dude, you ain't got a barbecue pit nor a fork to cook him up with. You ain't got it. It's not happening. It's not happening. Yeah, buddy, old Brandon thought he was calling backup, people. He thought he was calling in for backup, calling all cars. Brandon Tatum talking about racism day after day, folks. Day after day. So Brandon didn't shake that off. Brandon didn't, well, you know, there are all kinds of ignorant people out there. They're just ignorant. I teach my kids, you just ignore ignorant people. He ain't ignoring Jake Shields. Jake Shields got real estate in the coon's head. I guess there's plenty of damn room. What? Plenty of real estate in there. Plenty of acreage between those ears. Yeah, buddy, old Brandon don't know what to do. And of course, Brandon is, stomping these. If you're trying to convince folks that Israel didn't pay you off, this is not the way to do it. So, yeah, buddy, old Brandon is upset. Brandon's mad, but he's mad about one thing, people. He thought he was going to be able to call in the troops. He thought he was going to be able to call in the troops and call in backup. He figured that if he, with an account as big as his and a following as big as his, if he calls somebody out and say racism, here it goes. Dude, nobody's listening to you. They're not going to listen to you talk about racism. You have already set the tone for your audience and anybody listening to you. You're not going to sit up here and tell them same white folk, oh, well, this is racist right here. You have been an apologist for white supremacy all this time. You have been a spokesperson and a propagandist for white supremacy all this time. You have provided aid and comfort to the white supremacist enemy all this time. And then when you get punched in the teeth, all of a sudden, well, you know, it's racism out there now. Y'all can't just do that. It's racism out here. That ain't right. Hey, y'all, he being racist over here. So, yeah, Officer Bootlicking Tatum, he had no idea it was about to go down like this. He thought he had backup. He thought we were going to come riding to the rescue. He thought he had a people who he was going to be able to call on there. He really did think that he was going to yell racism and all of us were going to be like, regulators, mount up. he really did believe that's what it was going to be. And once again, the coons get taught a valuable lesson. You don't run anything. You don't run anything. And as a result, you don't have anybody that you are able to call for backup. Nobody's coming in. And the worst part for you is more humiliating because the white supremacists that you've been schmoozing up with and booing up with all this damn time, they know it. You see, the issue with coons is that they think that black folk are, quote, stuck on that pro-black stuff. They think black folk are stuck on that pro-black stuff. And here's the thing. Coons really do believe that they're smarter than the rest of us. I want y'all to understand that. Coons really do believe that they're smarter than we are. They really do think that. They think that they know better. They think that they got it figured out and that the rest of us, they're going to put the right spin on it. So when you saw them out here back in the Charlie Kirk and whatnot, there's a reason why he really does think that, yeah, he can play both sides of the fence, and he really does believe that black folk don't have a core. And the reason that he thinks that is because he doesn't have a core. That's the real thing about it. Tatum ain't got one. He has no scruples. He has no core. He has no principles. He doesn't have any of those things. So you see, for him, it's very easy for him to lie to himself and think that everybody else is like him. See, when you sit up here and start looking down on black folk, then you do that because you're trying to tell yourself that you're better. And Officer Tatum and this absolutely ridiculous, embarrassing, humiliating experience he's had, this is the proof. Coons think they're better than the rest of us. They really do think that their coon status certifies, I'm better than the rest of you Negroes. But they also tell themselves, I'm smarter. I could run rings around you. I can manipulate you better than white supremacy can. And then they actually try it. Then the moment of truth comes and they actually attempt to try it. Well, there's where things get bad for them when they attempt to try that. You see, you ain't been around us long enough for you to sit up here and be able to do something like that, dude. You ain't been around us long enough for that. You ain't been around us long enough for that. Not at all. It's not going to work. You don't even know what the language is that you'd have to speak. You don't even know the language. You have no idea where you'd have to be able to start with that. You don't know how it goes. You see, dude, you don't get to just parachute in one day and talk about their racism there, You know it's racism out there. You know that, right? Yeah, y'all, this is what happens when you are out of touch. This is what happens when you are ridiculously out of touch. When you get ridiculously out of touch, this is what happens. You jump around, you do dumb things, you get yourself in a bind, and then you tell yourself that you're so smart, and so special that don't worry, the rest of the niggers are just so dumb and so slow. The rest of you are so dumb and so slow. Well, don't worry, I'll take care of that. Okay. So just understand what you're dealing with there. just understand that they think they're smart. Now, I would like to remind you all of something. I talked about Rabbi Shmuley there before, but there's some folks out there who understand that they kind of on their own. Didn't I just mention Candace Owens? Didn't I just mention her? Well, don't worry. She is the gift that keeps on giving. This was from earlier this week on her YouTube program. She was talking about the origins of the ADL and how it was started because there was a Jewish fellow who raped a white girl and he tried to blame it on the black man. And she's right. Everything she's about to say here is true. The only thing is, damn, Candace. Well, you know, you've never talked about like this before. You spent the previous decade attacking black folk left, right, and center. But by the way, you ain't really talked like this. If you did, maybe things would have been a little bit different.
Well, because they put the organization together to defend a pedophile and a murderer. His name is Leo Frank. Leo Frank was an unbelievably wealthy Jewish factory owner down in Atlanta. And this is 1913. That's very relevant. You should know this happened in 1913. And this is the American South. You know what was going on there. And
no, Candace, we don't know what's going on there. Because people like you have denied it and never really talked about this. So no, we actually don't know what's going on there. You spent the last decade very, very ardently and reliably attacking black folks. So no, we actually don't know what happened. Maybe you can tell us about it because maybe that would give us some insights into, I don't know, systemic racism, historical racism. Maybe you'd like to talk about that, Candace, because no, we don't know what happened down there. Why don't you enlighten us? And then tell us that that's not systemic racism, and it must be relevant because you going back in the crates to talk about the ADL. Obviously, if Leo Frank is relevant to today, if Leo Frank is relevant to today with the ADL, then what was happening in Atlanta is relevant today for black folk. Y'all want to sit up here and pick and choose. Whenever it's about black folk, ain't nothing wrong. Y'all need to get over that. But then they'll immediately turn around and tell you that something happened a century ago. Oh, it's still very, very relevant, yeah, for what they want. And then tell you something happening at the same time to you, and that doesn't matter. That ain't had no effect, right? You got to shake that. Y'all always complaining and whining. Okay, then, Candace, why are you bringing this up then? So, no, Candace, we don't know. We don't know. We don't understand. We don't have a clue. No, we don't.
This happened in 1913, and this is the American South. You know what was going on there. And Mary Fagan was a 13-year-old girl who worked at his pencil factory. She was found brutally raped. Okay, she's a Catholic girl, by the way. I want to say that. She was a young Catholic girl. And Leo Frank, even with all of his money, all of his connections, the best lawyers that money could buy, connections all the way to the Supreme Court, he was so guilty of what happened that despite the fact that he tried to pin it on a poor black janitor, even in the segregated South, where people were just like, hey, give us any reason and we will go lynch a black person.
What? Oh, please.
Yeah, y'all. Yeah, all of a sudden, Candace is giving us the historical lecture here, and she's certainly discussing systemic historical racism. Is America a racist country? People, Candace Owens and Officer Tatum are the first folk been telling you forever that America is not a racist country, is not an historically racist country. And yet here she is describing historical systemic racism. That she's shocked that she's already showing you and illustrating that was an exception. Why, it was so easy to victimize black people. That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Because you see, we ain't heard that from you before. Folks, she hasn't been talking like this for a decade. Remember, this is Miss Candace. There's no historical racism. America's not a racist country. There is no systemic racism. Damn sure ain't no white supremacy. Hello, my husband. Now all of a sudden, see, I told y'all, I was the person who reminded people, has anybody noticed she done laid off of black folks since she got kicked out the Daily Wire? She done fell back from that. She tried to rally the troops when Rabbi Shmuley went in on her and it didn't go so well. She done she trying to sneak her way back in and whatnot. And by the way, hey, boo. Hey, big head. We see you. We see you. You ain't sneaking up on nobody. We see you. Yeah, all of a sudden here, she can talk about historical racism, systemic racism, black folk getting lynched, recognizing and acknowledging that that was the norm and that all white folk had to do was just say something. Oh, well, I can show you current historical parallels of that today. So it still continues. Now, if that was historical and systemic then it's historical and systemic today. So just like you're connecting the dots from Leo Frank and the ADL in 1913 to 2025, I can connect everything else that was happening in Atlanta. And Candace, I just want to say this here again, just one more again. Do not for a moment tell yourself that we have forgotten. I see what you're doing. I see what you're trying to do, and it's going to take a whole lot more than this. If you think that what's going to happen is that you're just going to sit back and you're going to let the dust settle and let there be enough distance between your coon crusade against black folk, and that eventually you'll just shed that off, and the next thing you know, slowly you'll start talking about us again, only not negatively. It's like, I just want to let you know, we will be waiting. I just want to let you know we'll be waiting at the end of that road. Do not tell yourself for a moment that we will forget, and do not deceive yourself into thinking we will forgive. We will be waiting when you get to the end of that strip. If you think you're going to come back and reform your image and everything's going to be everything and bygones be bygones, that's your ass. We are not going to forget, and that's why I'm reminding people. See, y'all got some folks out there, they're silly and stupid, and they were high schoolers, and they don't really check into things and whatnot. No, I'm reminding you about this. I'm reminding you. And I will continue to remind the people. So just wanted to let you know that you, the other one out there, that you were criticizing black folk right until the white supremacists you roll with started throwing bolos at you. Once they did that, then all of a sudden you want to lay off. You think you slick. It's not that you had some epiphany. You think you're slick. You think you're smart. You think you're sly. You think you're cunning. I'm just going to tell you, no, you're not. We see you. We see you. But on top of that there, folks, a little bit of housekeeping to do here. A little bit of housekeeping. I wouldn't want to leave anything left out here, so there is a little bit of housekeeping. Want to go over this here real quick. And I talked about this before. Mentioned this before. So kind of important that we do a little bit of catching up here. If you'll all kindly remember, it was just last week that I introduced all of you to a fella, Brillin Hollyhand. Yes, sir, Brillin Hollyhand. He was positioning himself to be the Charlie Kirk heir apparent. And I've been saying since the beginning that no turning point is really over, because at this point right now, it's a free-for-all about who's going to run things. Well, the Daily Beast just published a report saying teen MAGA speaker asked for thousands of dollars plus coach class airfare and expenses to speak at a fake college event.
Damn!
So basically the Daily Beast, Brillin told them that he doesn't do this for money, remember? Brillin said he don't do this for money. He doesn't do it to get paid. He just does it because this is what he believes in and all that stuff right there. And then they're like, by the way, when we called him, he gave us a booking fee. He told us it was going to cost money to book him. Yeah, it wasn't going very well for him, folks. He said it costs money to book him, to take bands to make him dance. It take bands to make him dance. So, Brillin found himself in the hot seat. He thought he was ready to hop out here and hiddly hi, neighbor. Biddly bye. So, he thought he was ready. He thought he was ready to go. And he's like, man, don't you know everybody in their mama is gunning for you at this point? It's like, man, you ain't ready for the deep end of the pool. You are not ready for the deep end of the pool. You are not. Jumped his happy ass out there and everything went south right off the bat. Just to show you how bad it got, this is over there on the Daily Beast website. On their website, they're showing here, he running around with Kellyanne Conway and booed up with Trump. And I mean, boy, y'all, who buys these suits? Okay. In any case, like it's more than one Daily Mail to the story. But anyway, the Daily Beast is just saying here that what happened was that they called him, the Daily Beast posed as a college student trying to book Holly Hand and emailed Premier Speakers Bureau, which connects speakers and organizations. A representative for the agency wrote back and said Brillin's fee is $7,500 plus coach class airfare and expenses. So $7,500 plus coach class airfare and expenses for two. Is this within budget? So in any case, when the Daily Mail asked Holly Hand for comment on the fee, he denied receiving payments for speaking on campus, which he echoed in a statement to the Daily Beast, saying that he doesn't charge for travel or to speak at campus stops, but does seek fees for, quote, large conferences, which can be hosted at a university. So, yeah, buddy, y'all, they passed the bag. Pass the bag. So then he says, this seems to upset. I cover all costs myself and get there on my own, which still seems to upset the haters. So if you think that's going to work, they're also saying for another place there, he wanted $2,191.91. So yeah, buddy. Now you take a look at this and you, like Ric Flair, Learjet flying, limousine riding. But then you come down here. Choose Liberty on Twitter. Do you think it would, talking to Tyler Bauer of Turning Point USA, don't you think it would be a good idea to disavow him? It says here, Brillin got paid by Ronna McDaniel when she got reelected and really let us all down. Well, don't you think it would be a good idea to disavow him, Tyler? Is he still employed by Turning Point USA? He's using your branding at his events. Or is this a case of any publicity is good publicity? To which Tyler responded, no, he's not. Turning Point USA has thousands of chapters. He just set up to speak to 8 or so local ones and is calling it a tour. Team is in midst of bigger issues right now, and although it has come off as distasteful, usually these things work themselves out. Says here, the MAGA boy wonder, a student at Auburn University in Alabama, claimed that the private jet does not belong to him. Quote, a hometown friend offered to help me get there because I couldn't afford it. People, I told you from the very beginning that forget about it. Turning Point is an anachronism. Look it up. Turning Point is something that is outdated. Without Charlie Kirk, you don't have the synergy anymore, and truth be told, he didn't have much synergy to begin with. he didn't have much synergy to begin with. And this jackalope here, I told you all that, he ain't gonna make it, because right now there's a scramble for the ball. You see, these are all a bunch of craven miscreants, and they are fighting for power. They're jockeying for power. They're jockeying for position. Brillin is in over his head because all these grown folk around him, it's like, dude, Charlie's dead and all them are jockeying to take Charlie's place. Do you really think that all these people who are 30, 40, and 50 years old and been stomping for the last decade out here with Charlie, do you really think that they're about to allow a 19-year-old sycophantic carpetbagger to come booming into town and they're going to follow you? See, he's been high on his own supply for too damn long. Does he really think that all these 30-somethings and 40-somethings at Turning Point and MAGA and the rest of the stuff, that they're all looking for a 19-year-old to bow down to? He didn't think this over. He thinks that all those grown folks smiling at him means that they're eager to be his subordinates. And that he's just going to walk in and they're just going to realize the indisputable reality that he's youngest on first, so y'all just need to bow down. A 19-year-old who thinks that grown folk are looking for him to bow to. And I told y'all they were all going to descend on him and ravage him. And that's exactly what has occurred. So yeah, just giving y'all a little bit of an update about how things are going on the Charlie Kirk Resurrection Tour. Yeah, they haven't settled on his replacement. They're only just certain that it won't be this guy. They are not certain who the replacement will be, but it won't be this fella. So, yeah, buddy. Oh, man, it's rough on them. It is rough on them. So a lot of folks are getting their wake-up calls, basically, is what's going on. Pandemonium reigns. Chaos ensues. Everybody who didn't understand what was going on before is being caught off guard. They don't know what to do about it. They don't know what to do about it. They're trying to figure out some way to make that work. They don't know what to do about it. Oh, I'm forgetting something here. Let me not overlook that. I'm forgetting a little bit of something. Oh, yeah. One more thing. There's somebody who needs to go ahead and give us a call up on Zoom here now, isn't there? So why don't we go ahead and get to that right quick? All right, brothers and sisters here. Sit back, smile, and dial. All right, there's somebody in the chat room, by the way, who is supposed to be giving us a call on Zoom, so we pinned the Zoom link to the top of the chat room. So this is your time here to rise and shine. Very glad that you've all been patient here while I opened up the program, so we're going to go ahead and get to that here. Wouldn't want to leave that undone. Would not want to leave that undone. So let's go ahead and get to the getting. Margatina J has 2 minutes to be on Zoom. And they are going to educate us about, you know, how non-racist these people are. They're going to educate us about that. All right. Yeah. There you go. So I'm going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. That'll give them time to go ahead and do that. And by the way, if you have been instructed by any of my mods that you need to call in, then do not act dumb and don't play stupid. You understood what you did. Now you know what you got to do. Just that simple. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out to my man, Mr. Richbird. Thank you very much for your support tonight, brother. We appreciate that. Also to Ronald, stay positive. Thank you very much for your support here as well. Nancy King, thank you, sister, for all you do. All right, here to Brenda, Mark B, and everybody else here who's contributed to support tonight's program. Thank you very much for doing so here. We're going to take a very brief commercial, non-commercial break. If you've been instructed to call in, this is your time. That is not a request. And also, we'll go ahead and open it up to the rest of you here also as well. A couple of other items I want to get here to in a moment. Yes, sir. As usual in America, it's not enough for black folk. Nobody wants to acknowledge what happens to black people unless they think they can figure out a way to strap it or tether, if you will, tether it onto other people. Wait till I show you where that's coming from next. This is the Black Channel.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we repping the gains. Used to be the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And the link to the Zoom is now available here. Margatina is not on Zoom yet. So, folks, Margatina's not on Zoom. All right, looks like they are about to get kicked on up out of here, which is, of course, the only way that things can go. So glad we have the internet era here so that when people say stupid, crazy, outlandish things, they can get called out in real time and then show the world whether or not it actually has any validity to it. And remember, when you run from your own words, I don't have to invalidate you. You already did that. Ain't that right, Officer Tatum? Yes, sir. It's a rough ride out there right now. Ain't that right for 'em? So a lot of folks are out here trying to catch their breath right now. A lot of folks are out here trying to catch their breath. And in particular, some of them are doing it out there in California. Some of them are doing it out there in California. They're trying to figure out how they're going to make that work. And it brings you to this article in particular here. This article in particular from the Times of San Diego. Hang on to your indignation, Batman. you all can see that headline. By the way, if you are not subscribed to me and following me on Twitter, what in the world are you doing with your life? You can find me at The Foundational Black Authority with the blue check mark. You can find me on Twitter at The Foundational Black Authority. The blue check mark, and you want to be up to date on these kind of things right here, you want to go ahead and do that. So this is an article that I have found and whatnot from the Times of San Diego. It says, thanks to Supreme Court ruling, working while brown is the new living while black.
Oh, please.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. So, as I told you all here, you see, the issue is that folks only acknowledge things for us when they think they can find a way to shift the energy and shift the benefits to somebody else. This is why we got rid of all that non-distinct language and talking about civil rights and stuff. You had people from Dr. Claude Anderson and Brother Neely Fuller saying that we need to change that language because every time that we start talking about us, everybody gets to work to see if they can shift. When it's time to actually do something, they want to shift it away from us. They never say that it's time to do, when black folk need something, okay, everybody, all hands on deck, we're going to do something for them. It's only talking about black people who have the only legitimate grievance, and then everybody wants to bootstrap themselves onto us and then say, okay, so just like Sally Struthers, all right, now black folk are catching hell, so what we need to do is prevent Latinos and LGBT from getting treated the way we do black folk. Yeah, we treat black folk bad. So the proper response is to keep LGBT and Latinos from having to get treated like that. What about the black folk we're treating like that? Now, they'll be all right. We'll come back to them later. Which reminds me of something else here, by the way. I want to touch on this briefly before I move on to the next thing. Folks, you've got a lot of so-called white liberals out there, and a lot of them who they claim they're interested in our issues and support that. And I played for you all last week that interview discussion between Ta-Nehisi Coates and Ezra Klein. And during that, I didn't play the whole thing for you all, but during it, they were talking about the fact that, you know, in America here, black folk been catching hell the whole damn time. Political violence is simply another day in America for black folk. That's not new for us. That's just another day in the USA. We are the people, 13% of the population, but 90% of the damn political assassinations. 90% of the political violence. And whenever it's time to resolve a problem in America, you notice that black people become a pawn, but the outcome is always the same. When it is time to definitively pass legislation, create social policy that tangibly, fundamentally protects us, all of a sudden, both the so-called liberal and the so-called white liberals and the so-called white conservatives start negotiating, and their negotiation always is over. Well, don't worry. The black folks can just sit this out. Whenever these two entities begin negotiating, curiously throughout the centuries, they've always both agreed, well, black folk can wait. Yes, this is a negative, bad situation for black folk, and we both talked it over, and we couldn't come to a conclusion, so black people are the pawn that has to suffer. So we'll get something done for illegal aliens, get something done for LGBT, and then when we come up, well, we can't do anything for everybody else if we do something for black folks. So black folk is just, it's not convenient to do anything. We just can't get it through. Well, you can never get it through. You're always telling us that. So every time they clunk their lunkheads together, they start talking about why it's okay for black people to absorb any unlimited damage or level of neglect or contempt. Black people being in distress is the price of America keeping the peace. What? Black people being in distress as far as the dominant society is concerned. Well, y'all just lingering in distress. Yeah, we really just neglected because that's the cost of keeping the peace. Not doing anything for you, overlooking it, excusing the Charlie Kirk. So you see that they're sympathetic to Charlie Kirk because, well, black folk, as white folk, we don't want the situation to get more tense with us. So allowing Charlie Kirk to demonize you and attack you and destroy you, well, that's the cost. It's very unfortunate. It's very sad. We're just so red-faced over it. It's very regrettable. But that's the cost of keeping the peace. So you all can just suck it up and suffer because, oh well, that's the cost of keeping the peace. And so they get together, and the liberals and conservatives talking about, well, Charlie Kirk had some points there. He was practicing politics the right way. And, some of the stuff he said was controversial. It's controversial. He was a damn white supremacist demon. Well, of course, Ezra Klein can overlook it. Nothing Charlie Kirk said impacted white males like him. Chris Cuomo, I'm calling you out, Chris. Of course you have no problem overlooking it. He didn't say anything that impacted you. So everything was fine for you. So they have no problem trading our suffering as a pawn and dismissing it in order to, quote, keep the peace. So it's always justifiable to do that. Neglecting us is always okay. Pushing it off. We're taking care of everybody else, just not you. And, well, it's just very unfortunate, but we have to let these other things go on right now, because grappling with the black issue is going to be very, very controversial and cause a lot of chaos and things. So you all just have to keep suffering in the meantime so that white society can keep the peace among itself. And your suffering is just the bill that the society pays for their own benefit. No matter how evil the demons are, they'll forgive and excuse everything. Yeah, because the black folk are the one paying the bill. Yeah, you're passing that tab over to us and saying, all right, y'all got to hold this. However, you might disagree. Therefore, the link to the Zoom is now open. So anybody who has been instructed to call in who has not done so, the mods should have already removed you. But to everybody else here, you are invited to go ahead and give us a call up here today. I know I'm dealing with a number of different subjects. Here. But you are more than welcome to go ahead and give us a call up. Tonight we've been discussing Officer Bootlicking Brandon Tatum. Oh, he's upset. Oh, he was on Twitter and in front of the world. Well-known, noted white supremacist Jake Shields called him a coon to his face. And here's the thing, y'all. Yes, Nick Fuentes, some of these guys over there, these guys on the alt-right and white supremacist right, yeah, they know what black folks say. We were the ones who said it first. And that's why I played that audio for you all a few weeks ago where Nick Fuentes admitted what we have been saying for years. See, we've been saying it for years, and everybody else tried to play stupid about it. Nick just admitted it was true. He said, yeah. The Jason Whitlocks and the Brandon Tatums and the Candace Owenses, you're the designated token Negroes. That's all you've ever been. And your job, Nick said what we've been saying here for years. We say it, folks want to sit up here and argue with it. Now that the white man has said it, they'll go ahead and believe it. He said, you all were the designated tokens. Your job was supposed to be that you were going to convert black people into conservatives. That's the only reason that Candace Owens had a job or anything at Turning Point. She convinced them, just like Roland Martin plays that game of convincing the Democrats. By the way, look at their backgrounds. Damn! But anyway, in any case, yeah, Roland promises the Democrats that he's going to convert black folk into liberal Democrat voters, and that's how he makes money. And then Candace Owens convinces the right-wingers, don't worry, I'm going to convince black people to be conservatives. And Nick Fuentes said the quiet part out loud. He said, you have failed. There's no reason to play nice with you anymore because you failed. You didn't do it. You'll never be able to do it, and it's never going to happen. So there's no reason for us to pretend that we want your black ass around anymore. We don't need you. And you're trying to convince people that we actually want you here. We never wanted you. We thought we needed you. Now we realize we don't even need that. You are a waste of resources and a waste of time. We might as well go ahead and just do this without you, because the bottom line is you can't close the deal. You are not a force for converting black people into conservatives and getting them to accept white supremacy. You can't do it. Only thing you're doing is making a bunch of money for yourself, but you are not bringing them over to our side. And that's what the Brandon Tatums are there for, and they think they slick, and they think they're smart, and it went bad quickly. Let's go ahead and jump over here on Zoom. We're going to talk about a little bit more about this here in just a few moments, but before I do, all right, we got Antoine here on Zoom. Antoine, what's on your mind?
How you doing? How you doing, Jason? Great broadcast. Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I like how you bring up Nick Fuentes. Because I loved it when he went on to the Coons. Everything he said was absolutely correct. Like you and like others, I like when my white supremacists are out in the open, you know. And also, whoever carried his water, you know who the white supremacists are. Like you brilliantly showed, I think it was last year with what's that girl named Pearl? You know, and he was admitting to being racist, and she was right next to him saying, "No, you're not." So you already know what type of person she is.
Yeah, I mean, that's the game that they play there, that nothing these people say is racist. So when you point out it's racist, no, it's not. I didn't hear anything racist. It might be controversial, but I mean, that's just mainstream thought there. Megyn Kelly tried that garbage after Charlie Kirk got killed, and we shot that down. So that's the game that they play. And we know it's coordinated because everybody's doing it at the same time. We know it's coordinated because these talking points and these strategies kind of get rolled out like a new product. So the new strategy now is just deny racism, period. Just deny it.
Right. And, you know, I noticed that too, and I came to this conclusion. You tell me if I'm wrong. I realized that white supremacy is a predator, and what kind of predator it is the ambush predator. It doesn't like it when you know who they are and when you can see them, and that's why we get the biggest target as foundational Black Americans, because we consistently are looking at them. Part of our, people always try to say, "Oh, you guys don't have a culture." Well, part of our culture is studying white supremacy and how to fight against it. See, everyone tries to act like it doesn't exist, or they try to play dumb, So, like for example, you notice most of these coons have Caribbean or African backgrounds. Now, yes, there's some foundational Black American coons, but they know you can only coon so far because they have family members that let them know. And see, what the problem with, like for Tatum, for example, he has a white significant other. That's why he started crashing out, because a lot of these dudes are showing how much they don't like these Black guys with white women. So, and that's why cooning from the Caribbean and African never going to work, because we all know the Caribbeans and African coons, they want to get white women.
They are useful tools to the white supremacist establishment to the extent that they can accomplish anything. But just like Tim Scott and all the rest of them, as soon as you try to cozy up to white daddy, they put you in the back of the bus in front of everybody. So your public attempts to kiss their ass always turn into hazing rituals. At some point, it's going to become a hazing thing, and they're going to be telling racist jokes, and you sitting there smiling, or they're going to be giving preference shooting the white folk right in front of you, and you sitting there smiling. That's the whole thing. Here's the issue. The issue of the psychology and psychiatry of the coon is that the coon's goal, listen carefully now, the goal of the coon is to achieve individual benefits for themselves at the expense of the collective. That is the goal of the coon. He's not stupid. He's arrogant and foolish, but he's not stupid. He knows racism exists, but he thinks he has become, he has become so desensitized that he's told himself that playing along with white supremacy is a great grand chess strategy, but he's playing the game only for himself. So they think that they're going to play the game, quote, play the game and carve out individual benefits that are going to help them, and that the rest of us will be left on the outside looking in and paying the bill. So this comes to the next thing. Folks, we don't talk about this nearly enough, and we need to. We have to discuss not just the role of the bastard in history, but we also need to discuss the role of the disaffected, awkward black kid in modern history. See, that they become a very fertile ground for coonery. A number of them are very angry and upset, which is why you hear them always trying to take us to task about what you said about them back in school. Are you serious? You're not over middle school. Are you serious? They felt awkward then. Case in point, go take a look at photos of Candace Owens from 10 years ago, y'all. That was not no superstar. That wasn't really super. I'm not dissing on her, wasn't. I'm just saying, if you thought Nick Fuentes talked about that, and he was right. These chicks at Turning Point USA are strong sixes at best, but this is the best those awkward guys can get. So those might as well be 10s for them. These fellas been in politics, political nerds. Candace Owens is a 10 for them. Well, what's her competition? Nikki Haley? Kamala Harris? That's her competition? Okay, no wonder. So they're carrying around resentments. And Dr. John Henry Clark has talked about this, and I'm just reminding you all here that if you don't think you can beat another black person on your own, well, what do? Well, I'll go to white daddy. I'll go to the system. And he'll take care of it. What I'm too powerless to do on my own. So they go to their magnet schools, they go to their private schools, they go to their private colleges, they're meeting white supremacy every day, but you see, they encounter white supremacy. But as far as they're concerned, they spent their life growing up around black folk, and they have a grudge match. They're carrying a grudge. And they think they're going to use white supremacy in order to, quote unquote, get even with the rest of you. So they're powerless to do it on their own. Now I'm going to work together with Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to punish the rest of you. Yeah, but you'll be an outcast. I'm already an outcast.
And to back you up, the Hodge twins admitted that. They said they were teased a lot. You know, because they talk funny. So there's a video of them saying exactly.
It's the story of all of them, the Myron Gaineses and everybody else. This is the same damn story. It's just there's nobody to filter them and ask them these questions, because back in the broadcast television days, they would have been filtered out. In the internet era, there's so many of them today that now they can get together and form their own G.I. army. What? So these are a lot of disaffected kids, and I'm talking about from on the left and the right, but particularly on the right. Particularly on the so-called right. Oh, their whole thing is, I want to help white daddy take all the rest of you down. And if I can do that, well, then we done got even. So I want you all to, we cannot discount the role of that. We cannot discount the factor of the awkward black kids that, and white society sees this and is like, oh, you don't like those Negroes as much as we do. So you're a good one we can use. You've got contempt for them. You got hostility for them too. Oh, yours is genuine. Oh, okay. You ready to be a Benedict Arnold. All right. We can do something with that. At least that's what they told themselves. The problem is that these people were so disaffected and such outcasts that they never learned how to talk to any of us. They became house niggas as early as they could, and then Massa sent them out into the fields, and they can't figure out why it is your undercover agents keep getting beat up and sent back to you in stitches. They can't be undercover agents. They don't know how to talk to us. And they're never going to convince us that this plantation is an amusement park. I'll let you have the last word.
So yeah, you're right about that. What I was trying to also say, another way Coonan doesn't pay is because I've never gone to some white supremacist places like 4chan and stuff, looking at this. And one person said this, and it's true. He said that you can't trust a coon because if he turns on his own, he'll turn on us. And ever since he said that, I see it all the time. That's why they can never trust him. I mean, they'll use him, like you said, but they'll never trust him because if you turn on your own people, you'll turn on them. And one last thing, a lot of these coons like to bring up the IQ, especially ones that are foreign backgrounds, but they don't understand. You talk to the guy that created that test. They look at Caribbean and African people as lower IQ. That's what's so funny about them repeating that stuff, because if they looked up what those same white supremacists talk about Caribbeans and African descent people about their IQ, theirs is lower than the Black American. In a weird way, they see Black Americans as smarter because we have a little bit of white ancestry. In a weird way.
Well, like I say, there are folks who recognize white supremacy exists and fight it, and the others who recognize it exists and go back to picking the cotton because they think they got some strategy to improve their personal position within the white supremacist structure. But do not be deceived. For a lot of them, what's motivating them is that they're carrying a grudge against, quote unquote, the rest of us. And so they decided, I'm just going full Benedict Arnold, damn you niggas, and I don't fit along with y'all any damn way. So if y'all go down, oh well, you wasn't doing nothing for me. And as a result, keep your eyes and ears open for that. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. And that's a huge factor for the so-called LGBT also. Oh, I said it. The LGBT folk, that's a huge factor for them. A lot of them, that's a big factor. That's a big factor. They're like, they waiting for the rest of us to get on that train. It's like, we ain't really with that. Do what you do, but we ain't really with that. And it's like, okay, I can't convert or recruit y'all. Let me get together with White Daddy. But baby, you 300 pounds with combat boots. Damn! That ain't fly. You got this fella over here with a BBL and a Spanx trying to tell us he's a woman even if he has a scrotum. It's like, hey, bro, I mean, all that silly talk, man. I mean, do what you do, but don't roll up on me with it. I'm going to help the white supremacists. Okay. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again here. We got Daryl on Zoom. Let me go ahead and get Daryl up here on Zoom. Folks, by the way, if you are tuning in, make sure you stay by your phone so you don't get left behind. All right, Daryl, what's on your mind?
Hey, good evening, Jason. First off, thank you for having me this evening. I appreciate it. And, man, I don't know what to say, man. You've been on point with all of this, man, for so long. I've been a long-time listener, man. And you warned us about all of these things and how this was turning out, the election, everything. I shared that with my nephews and, you know, through the technology thing that you did and everything else like that. And they watching this thing and they getting a good dose of what I've been telling. And I want to appreciate that so much that you've been on point with this, because the new black media is real and is taking this to a whole new level. White supremacy is being stomped out. That gentleman there didn't understand that you can't play both sides in the middle at the same time. You can't do it.
Well, I mean, look, the white supremacists gas coons' heads up. And that's right. Domestic coons and foreign coons.
That's right.
They are experts at gassing their heads up primarily because they want to be gassed up.
That's right.
They're looking for somebody to pat them on the head and give them approval. And the white supremacy sees, okay, you open for that. Okay, he wants to, quote, play the game. If you're lucky, there'll be a slot for you. But it's not because they're blind. That's the biggest thing that we have to disavow ourselves of. It's not ignorance. White supremacy is everywhere. It is pervasive. It's at every level of society. The so-called wealth gap. That's just white supremacy.
That's it.
That's white supremacy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
yes, sir.
You can't get literally everywhere you go. It's all pervasive.
Yes.
You can't get away from it in anything you do.
That's right.
And so for something that's so obviously blatant everywhere that you go, the examples are simply overwhelming. You can't throw a rock without hitting one or two of it. So when somebody starts talking to you silly and crazy, it's like, okay, you got some other motive. There's no way you don't see that sitting in front of us. There's no way you don't see that. Well, I mean, I see it, but it's not what you think it is. That's not a brick wall right there. That's a candy store. That's the problem. You don't understand what it really is. See, if you would get you a sweet tooth, you would not be so anxious. That's right, Jason. You can use some chocolate in your life, as a matter of fact. I mean, well, not black woman chocolate. Jason, you can use some white chocolate. I'm like, Brandon, if you don't stop cooning over here on this damn street corner, if you don't quit cooning, let me go ahead and drive off. I'll let you have the last word.
Thank you, Jason. You know, this has been a wake-up call for all of them. And everybody that's been listening and tuning in see what's going on. And they keep on taking those L's. I guess they must love a L because they keep on taking so many. Thank you very much for having me, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Now, look, if you're an awkward kid who's never been accepted before, once you get accepted somewhere, that's it. You cooning all the way out. Not a little bit. You cooning all the way out. And see, there's the problem with white supremacy. White supremacy operates the way that Trump does, which is smart, by the way. White supremacy operates the way that Donald Trump does. You see, when you back Trump, you don't get to be halfway in. Trump makes sure that you got to get your hands just as dirty as his. He makes sure you get so grimy, you're not going to be able to talk your way or explain your way out of it and cross back over to them folks you was with. Take a look at what he's done with Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio is done. His political career is finished. Trump took him under his wing. He had to run against him as president in 2016, but that's it. Marco Rubio, after Secretary of State, he's finished in politics. He's through. Trump has made him have to do every degrading, hardcore MAGA policy he could dream up. That's it. You ain't gonna have you going back later and backbiting me and talking against me. When folk look at you, they gonna see my little Latino version of me. And now Rubio is just as dirtied up as Trump is. Take a look at the so-called Democrats, Tulsi Gabbard, RFK. Yeah, Trump gave them positions in the cabinet and then said, by the way, I need you to go promote this white supremacist position over here. By the way, your friends over there on the left, they really, really hate this thing right here. And this is not what you came to me with, but yeah, we're going to go overboard with this right here. Yeah, this is one of those positions that you supported before. Yeah, you ain't supporting right now. No, we ain't doing that. We ain't doing that. So Tulsi Gabbard has had to flip-flop on Epstein. She's had to flip-flop on Israel. Oh, she's had to flip-flop on Ukraine and Russia. She's had to flip-flop on Ukraine and Russia. Oh, Trump made sure she got dirtied and filthied all the way up. She will never be able to talk her way out of this. He makes sure as a condition of coming over, oh, no. You got to represent the clique. You got to represent the clique to the fullest. And you gonna lead on. I'm not going out there to talk to the microphones today. You are. And you're going to say exactly what I just told you to say or your ass is out. And one by one, they have all walked out there and towed the line, and they've jettisoned whatever credibility they had left in the process. Tulsi ain't going to be able to ever cross back over. All people are going to be asking her about, nobody's going to ask her about her policies before she got with Trump's White House. They're going to be talking about, Tulsi, what the hell happened to you? What did they do to you? That's all people are going to be asking her for the rest of her life. So when you come over to Turning Point USA, the first thing they say is like, yeah, we don't believe you. We don't believe you real, Candace, until you take down a few black folk. You're going to have to be more hard body about it than we are. So we're not going to trust you until you go hard in the paint. We're not going to trust you. Officer Tatum, we're not going to trust you unless you show you hate them niggas as much as we do. You're going to have to argue, ain't no racism, ain't no white supremacy. These niggas need to quit whining. That's what you need to go out there and say. Otherwise, we don't trust you. And that's exactly what they had them do. There's no turning back now, Buck Dancing Brandon. Ain't no turning back now, dude. You ain't never gonna walk this backwards. You might as well keep on marching down the Coon Road. You can't turn around now. It's not just that there's no easy way back. There's no way back for you, so you might as well keep on marching. Might as well, because ain't nothing waiting for you back here. You don't have a people to return to. Hey, Buck Dancing Brandon, you might as well keep walking. You don't have a people to return to. We're making an example of you and Candace and all the rest of the coons. You don't have a people to return to. So enjoy the hell ride. Okay, we had Elizabeth on Zoom, but she just dropped off. So, Elizabeth, you missed your chance. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can check over here on Jay. We try to go see if we can get Jay up here on Zoom. All right, Jay, what's on your mind?
Yeah, you brought up the topic of the socially awkward kid. I think that one of the strengths of white supremacy is that they, no matter who you are, they find a place for you. And in terms of serving white supremacy, whether you're socially awkward or not, like, you could be, an athlete, you could be, a Kyle Rittenhouse or somebody like that, or, like a technocratic geek or whatever. There's always a place for you under white supremacy where you can serve that. So my question is for you, do you think that our community needs to do more to kind of incorporate, that socially awkward kid before he turns into, say, a Ben Carson or, the kinds of people that we complain about down the road?
Well, I mean, to a certain extent here, but here's the real issue here. Let's just say, for example, you got parents and their goal is to exit black society at one degree. That's their aspiration, is to graduate outside of it. Because let's just be very, very clear. In the system of white supremacy, being black is the bottom of the ladder. When you black, you catching hell on all sides. So there's a lot of folk who are just trying to get away from that, and they don't give a damn what the means or the ends are, what the means or the ramifications are. So that's their only goal. So it really starts with the parents. It really starts there. This idea that you're going to find something outside of here. The only thing outside of black society is cooning. That's the only thing outside of it. As far as the children are concerned, like I say, I mean, the effect you can have is limited to a certain degree. You just have to accept that. I mean, they're not our children, so we don't have, parental authority over them necessarily. So there's only so much we can do in that regard. However, what we can do is be on code. We can do that. But I'm also going to say one more thing here, brother. Our culture isn't coddling people.
And deal with it.
We're in a war zone, bruh. They are conducting a race war against us. We don't really have the luxury of coddling people. Nigga, if you still smarting over middle school, you ain't built to help us against a beast like white supremacy. You ain't ready for that. The damage is already done. You're just unfit. We can't coddle people. I'm talking about his children. Dude, don't you see that they bombing and shooting and tearing everything? You're in a war zone. So yeah. I can't really sit up here and tell you that I'm going to be an advocate of coddling them. How do I coddle somebody on a battlefield?
Yeah, because there's different dimensions of the battle, is what I'm saying. Like, for instance, I'm in information technology, right? So let's just say that I wanted to start a company with, say, 9 or 10 Black people that, you know, had been in that business, you know, since they were kids or whatever, and have developed the expertise to, you know, compete with the, I don't know, take your pick, Larry Ellisons and folks like that. You know, if those kinds of people, you know, were shit on, you know, we're just not going to have that base later on in life.
Okay, but brother, what I'm saying though is you're not talking about a job skill, you're talking about character. The question that you asked me about was not about a job skill. The question you asked me about was character. So they can be the greatest IT person on the planet. That doesn't mean they're not a coon though. And working for you is not going to bring the coon out of them. So what I'm saying is that what you were asking about and talking about, that is a childhood character issue, adolescent character issue. Brother, people don't become coons at 20 and 25. They became coons at 8 years old and 10 years old. From there, it's just a grooming process. So by the time they get to you in the job field, that's it. They're a fully formed coon at that point. And maybe experience will show them the error of their ways, but working for you won't. Only a very brutal encounter with white supremacy that they cannot argue with and can't deny. That's really the only thing that possibly could correct that. Although even then I have a problem with that too, because so you only change once they stop giving you preferential treatment. And I don't know how well I can trust you. You're really just operating, it seems to me you're operating in your own personal interests. So that's why it's still going to be a question mark and an asterisk by them.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just, because you were kind of talking about the pipeline. Like, okay, you don't become a coon at 25, but if you know, the kind of guy that you are, say you're kind of socially awkward or whatever, so you kind of away from people and you develop those core skills, mainly because you weren't really dealing with people so much. So you kind of have a head start. Like the type of people that become, you know, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, these weren't the kids that were probably liked by their own communities.
Right, but white supremacy is a broad enough organism that it can absorb some disaffected kids who may not necessarily, because remember Steve Jobs, one of his parents was Arab. So white supremacy can absorb that. So that's why we don't have to ask what their leanings were racially. White supremacy can incorporate them into the economy and the system. And that part you're talking about there is really kind of ancillary for us. Oh, it's dangerous for us because we don't have a bunch of power. You see what I mean? So without that, this person among us will be undermining us.
Okay.
When you join the white supremacist system, you don't have anybody to sell them out to. Who are you going to sell out Apple to? Who are you going to undermine them for? You can't sell them out. We, unfortunately, you can sell us out. Now, we can be sold out. That's why the white supremacist apparatus, it can absorb that to a degree that we simply can't. So if we see you built bad, we really got to cut bait with you. I can't really go into a whole lot of how you got here. If you're lost on the chessboard, man, you're lost. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me see if we can get Elizabeth up here on Zoom. I mean, look here, folks. We're not here to sit up here and have security risk. We can't do it.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight.
All right, turn off your YouTube speakers, Elizabeth.
Zoom. I mean, look here, folks. We're not here to sit up here and
turn off your YouTube, ma'am. Turn it off, pause it, whatever you need to do. Okay, Elizabeth is working on this newfangled technology. Fortunately for her, I'm extending some DEI white privilege. What? So I'm going to extend some DEI white privilege to Elizabeth here.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you, Elizabeth. What's on your mind?
I just want to ask you if Black empowerment took over white supremacy, how would you rule?
If Black empowerment, I think you mean if Black empowerment overtook white supremacy or overcame it, how would you be able to tell? Elizabeth, that is a very good, very prescient question. And the reason why it is, a little bit of background, I'm going to answer your question, but it's a very prescient question because you see, this is the great fear in the society. If Black people ever reached socioeconomic and political parity, what will them Negroes do with all that power? Because you see, historically in the European sense, power is used for one thing: conquest and dominance. Well, of course, why would Black people want power if their goal isn't conquest and dominance? So obviously they want it for the same reasons. They want power for conquest and dominance. And they can't conceive of a world where power is used to help people, nourish people, balance the scales, productivity, that you can be powerful without being exploitative. That you can have power and it doesn't have to come at somebody else's expense. We have centuries of mastery of this. So to most of the rest of the society, this is a foreign concept, that as people can be powerful, but the power isn't abusing people. That yes, I have the power to abuse you, but that's not what I want power for. And that's not what I'm going to use it for, because my guiding principle isn't dominance. My guiding principle is justice. Now, I need power if I'm going to enforce justice. But I have no need to abuse you in order to exercise power. So there's the fundamental concept that scares the society. They can't imagine somebody wants power and they don't want dominance. You don't want dominance? Well, I mean, I'm competitive. So yes, there will, of course, I want to do my best work. But I don't, if we describe dominance, it's not going to be from a position of abuse. A zero-sum game. If I'm winning, you have to lose. If I'm on top, you got to be on bottom. If I'm winning, you're under my boot. No, it doesn't have to be that way. So now that I've explained the parameters of it, why it scares people for that concept, how would you know? Elizabeth, let me give you a couple of examples, and I want you to tell me what you think. All right. Do you think that we have a problem at the surface level, at the very least, with Black people being treated, for the most part, there's a whole lot of nuances here, but stick with me here. I'm being broad and generalized. But do you think we have that problem in something like, for example, the NBA or the NFL?
I don't really know.
Okay, well, I don't think you have I don't think you've ever had an issue with enough Black folk being there. And you haven't heard a lot of people complaining about what it is exactly they're allowed to do. So you see, just like anything else in society, the first thing I want you all to understand is that Black folk are not sitting up here complaining to steal something. If we are given, all we have to have is the barriers in our way being removed. That's all we're looking for. And you know what it looks like when somebody has barriers. You know what it looks like when they don't have the same frictionless ease of access you have. So what does it look like? You don't have any problem with having MVPs. You're still working on coaches and stuff. So sports is not really a great analogy, but it's one of the few that you can take a look at and see, by the way, nobody's abusing anything. You have white players, you have Samoan players, you got Asian players. You don't have the Black folks sitting up here undermining them and saying we're here to take over. And the black players colluding to squeeze everyone else out. You know what everybody does with us. You don't have that occurring. So that's one thing you would notice. I'm answering your question. Well, how would you notice? How would you know if we overtook it? First thing you would notice is people are undermining each other all the damn time. That's the first thing you would notice. Take a look at rap music, for example. We don't undermine people. We don't put up gates and barriers, though we damn sure should. But we're not going around undermining people, making music that targets their folk. We don't do that. So the first thing you will notice is justice. Hey, you know, people are competing and doing things, but folks are not getting mistreated. You're turning on the evening news. You're not seeing stories about, I wasn't able to sell my house because we had black folks' pictures in it. You know, things like that, because you've never seen a story in your life of a white person talking about they couldn't sell their house because there were white pictures in it. So how would you know? Elizabeth, it would look exactly the same as what you see every day. It would look just like that. Just like that. And without somebody trying to undermine it and put barriers in the way of it, it would look exactly what you see right now. Just nobody colluding together and conspiring to undermine this group over here. That's all. When you go to a football game or basketball game, there's some hinky stuff that goes on, but not amongst the players. I mean, sometimes, but I'm just saying it's not an organized thing unless Bill Belichick is coaching. What? But you don't see them conspiring and saying, okay, we're going to undermine this guy over here, those people over there. That's what doesn't happen. So they call it a meritocracy when in reality it's just, this is what it kind of looks like, kind of, when you're operating in a just manner. So imagine a religion that is based on justice. Justice in capitalism, justice in economics, justice in housing, justice in the court system. You're not conspiring to collude, to gang up on people. That's how you'll know. Because right now, when you turn on the news, you see a nonstop flood of basically people who have ganged up on somebody. And then they tell you, well, we can't change the policies and this, that, and the other. Yeah, they don't want to change them because the policy needs to change. Is, by the way, stop ganging up on us. Stop undermining us, stop targeting us, and stop ganging up on us. And so all those social ills that people sit up here and pretend to be concerned about, those go away as a natural result of it. You don't have a crime issue. You have an economics issue. Most of your so-called crimes are economic crimes. Crimes in the pursuit of making a dollar. And some people are more ruthless than others, understood. But you can diffuse a lot of that, by the way, when you have resources. When white children, whether it was Father Flager or whatever, when white kids were getting into trouble as juveniles, the Catholic Church invested in them. Black children, school to prison pipeline for you. If black empowerment overtakes white supremacy, how will you know? That school to prison pipeline goes away and it is replaced with exactly the same thing you did for the white kids. It'll be replaced with exactly what you gave them, which we've been trying to do, but they keep taking that. Everywhere, no money for that, no investment in that. Oh, that's DEI. Yeah, okay, it wasn't DEI for the white kids. Oh, well, you know, break a few eggs, make an omelet. Yeah, Elizabeth, it'll look just like that. All of the solutions that you have in white society, those will find that separate but equal thing we never got. Yeah, it'll finally be extended to us. And it'll look like what it looks like over there with you. It'll look just like that. That's how you'll know that day has come. When it looks just like yours. Not one or two rich black folk over here. One or two black folk who ain't struggling and everybody else is in the damn gutter. Because that's not white society. White society is not one or two white folk living lavish and everybody else is just ass out. That's not what you all have. Is there a wealth gap? I mean, sure there is to a certain extent, but then again, please stop funding it. That would help. But yeah, it won't look like there's one or two black folk doing good and everybody else is just, down and out and living hand to mouth. It won't look like that anymore. And by the way, when it stops looking like that, can you imagine what that will do for people's attitudes and dispositions, by the way? When people are not scrapping for resources or worried that every day they're going to be targeted, they can move that mental and emotional bandwidth to something else. They don't have to be on guard all the time for the next assault because there won't be another assault. So you will see a whole bunch of things change, but my short answer is, well, how will you know when this happened? It'll look just like what you got over there on your side. It'll look just like that. And the same competitiveness that you've seen us express in sports and music and whatnot, when you finally stop with the economic domination, we're going to show you what that looks like too. And there's going to be some folks who may be uncomfortable with that. It's like, we're going to make Steve Jobs and Warren Buffett put to shame and Bill Gates put to shame. When we start competing with nobody throwing stuff in the way, please take a look at what happened in sports and music when they removed the ability to hold us back arbitrarily. When we were actually allowed to compete at some level, take a look at what happened. It was world records different. And we intend to do the same thing with the others. Oh yeah, and one more thing. Your music has never been better, has it? Your sports has never been better. Do you really want to go back to what y'all had back in the 1950s? Before we rose up, your music has never been better. Your culture has never been better. Your entertainment's never been better. Your sports has never been better. The societal dialogue has never been better. Take a look at the vernacular they operate. We have been an outrageous plus. We created the culture. Imagine what we can do next. Just imagine it. And all of you will be beneficiaries of it. You see how I brought that 720 degrees? By the way, when we get done, you will all be beneficiaries of it. It's not going to be we balling out and y'all are ass out. It's not going to be that. Your kids are going to benefit from it. Your grandchildren are going to benefit from it. They will not be outsiders in their own city. They're not going to be dominated. Nobody's going to set up an infrastructure to abuse them. They will have equal access to all of these things. They will not have control and dominance. They will not have that. But then again, they won't need it either. Now, they will not have control and dominance, but they won't need it. You see, most people like anime. That's great. You have access to anime. You don't have control and dominance. Oh, well, that seems to work okay. And nobody seems to bother with that. So, and take a look at what that's done for Japanese society. So, take a look at them. What does it look like? It looks like that. It looks like that.
Another question. How would you deal with the Muslims who also want to take over America?
Okay. When you say the words, they want to, quote, take over America, what exactly do you mean?
Well, they say that they want to destroy Western culture and just dominate and have Sharia law.
Okay. I find that to be a very, very interesting thing there, Elizabeth. So let me ask you about something here. How many wars have, quote unquote, the Muslims waged on American soil?
Well, I do know that in the past, the Ottoman...
No. American soil. American soil.
Well, the only one I can think of is 9/11.
Okay, well, I mean, I guess you can say that's a hostile act. Sure, that wouldn't count as full-scale warfare, but you know what? I'll give you 9/11. I'm just to be generous. I told you I was going to give you white privilege, so here's your white privilege here, Elizabeth. I'm giving you 9/11. Now, how many wars has America launched on Muslim soil?
I think a lot.
Thank you. And by the way, did America strike them first, or did the Muslims strike America first?
Well, I think that we struck the Muslims because we thought they struck us.
No, ma'am. When do you think that we struck? Okay, explain to me when you think that what you just said happened.
When we went against Hussein.
Okay. Baby, you got to go back further than that. So for those of you who understand your history, when you talk about the Saudi family, when the Europeans and the Westerners found oil in the Middle East, okay, we got to dominate as much of that as we can. So they made deals with the Saudis, but then they also made deals with the Iranians. And that, in my mind, that was really the bellwether event. Mohammed Mossadegh. Now, the Brits, with plenty of help from the Americans, because it was the Americans who got that man killed. But the Brits were making money and not paying the Iranians. And they had let them get away with that and get away with that. And that's why they wanted the Shah in Iran, the royal family of Iran, because the Brits had paid him off and got the damn royal family in their back pocket. That was the rise of Mohammed Mossadegh, democratically chosen by the people. Democratically chosen by the people. And he said, BP, the Brits, y'all been ripping us off with oil. You've been giving us a couple of cents on the barrel and keeping everything else. He told the UN, we are going to nationalize the oil industry in Iran. We're nationalizing it on account of the fact that they've been cheating us all this time. And he brought the documents and paperwork to show they've been cheating them for years. And he said, we're going to nationalize the oil industry. And Britain and the United States, the CIA, conspired to kill him after that. For their oil on their soil. They conspired to kill him. And they succeeded. And then they installed the damn, we want to put the Shah back in. And that was when you end up with the rise of Ayatollah Khomeini. Khomeini comes up after they killed Mossadegh and puts the Shah back in. So much for democracy. So much for the will of the people. Now, this was back in the 70s. The 70s, baby, not 1991. The 70s. Those people were doing what they do. And here we go. We're going to go kill people? Oh, you going to die if you don't do things our way? Baby, what did Rambo say? They drew first blood. The Westerners drew first blood on Middle Eastern soil. Not even here in the States. You went off in somebody else's country and did that. And then kept going. Baby, then they kept going. Because it's after this that you have, okay, we want somebody to go to war with Iran. That's when America starts propping up Iraq. So here comes Reagan, and they conspired, okay, we need somebody to knock off Iran. And so that's when all of a sudden you have the Iran-Iraq war. With America's hands literally all over it. That went on for what, 7-8 years? Saddam Hussein was not their man because they loved him. He was their man because their proxy war, we're going to send you in there because sending American troops was not politically feasible. And I didn't want to go that deep off into it. So we're just going to arm you and buck you up to go to Iran. And then they did the one thing they didn't figure was going to happen. They declared peace. Saddam Hussein and Iran declared the war over. And that's when America said, yeah, our investment went bad. How many people died in that war, ma'am? How many died? By the way, and the Saudis? The Saudis were all in favor of that. They've always been shaking hands with these people and helping them get dirty work done over there because the Saudis don't get along with the Iranians because Sunni Shia, they still on that right there. With America, hands all over that too. We haven't gotten to the Gulf War yet, ma'am. The stuff I'm talking about, we ain't got to the Gulf War yet. We're still in the 80s now. I told you about the 70s. We're still in the 80s. We're not in the Gulf War yet. The oil companies and everybody, nobody had a problem with Saddam Hussein. He was like, okay, I need to go get Kuwait right quick. Oh, wait a minute. There's our opening. There we go. So, ma'am, the amount of bodies is counted in the thousands. From America drawing blood on Middle Eastern soil. And I'm not even going to go, we're talking about the 80s. I'm not going to talk about Lebanon, Libya. We're talking about the 80s, Lebanon, Libya. Anybody ever saw that movie Delta Force? America was doing a whole bunch of dirty work and slimy stuff in the Middle East in the 80s. So I'm just talking to you about Iran. I'm like, I'm not even, we don't have time for us to get off into Lebanon and in those places right now, and much less clandestine services. Not even the clandestine stuff where they assassinate people. I'm just going to leave that out the way. I'm just talking about bombs and missiles dropping. With everybody telling you, oh, look what those dirty Arabs did to Americans. By the way, did they just wake up one morning and do that? Hell no. The largest base in the damn world during the Gulf War was in the Middle East. The largest U.S. military base. That's not a, hey, we just here to protect folks. That's a, we taking real estate. And so then you get to 1991 and the Iraq War. And by the way, how did that end? Inconclusively. Well, then that must be a reason for it. First time you saw them not try to overthrow a head of state as a result of a war, must be a reason for that. Oh, we don't want to go into Iraq. Why not? You're already bombing them out of Kuwait. And then 10 years later, that's exactly what you went into Iraq then. What stopped you in 91? Now we keep going. And by the way, I skipped over this here before, but I did it deliberately, ma'am. Then we go back to the Middle East again, back to those Saudis who supposed to be your friends, and then again drop planes on you. Osama bin Laden. Why they hired him back in the 80s to help the Mujahideen in Afghanistan. They helped to fund this Saudi national. Osama bin Laden, this Saudi national, is sent up in Afghanistan for the jihad. Not because America cared about the Afghans, but because the Russians were trying to muscle in. And so, proxy war again. This is the 80s. Do you realize this is the 1980s? Do you see how many multiple proxy wars I'm naming for you? In the 80s, ma'am. We're not in the 90s yet. We're not in Gulf War yet. The Afghan war was a proxy war. We're funding the Mujahideen in Afghanistan to stalemate the Russians, and it worked. But we were also paying one Saudi national, Osama bin Laden, in particular, working with the CIA, him in particular. And he made it very, very clear that, yeah, he loved wine, woman, and song, but he was a devout Muslim. And this is a holy thing to him. These infidels should not be on our soil, and that includes Afghanistan. That's how thick in the paint he was. So when we get to the 90s, a decade later, for those of you who don't remember, Osama bin Laden offered, because the Saudis were upset that after Saddam Hussein invades Kuwait, the Saudis are like, oh hell, we're next. He's knocked off Kuwait, we're next. Osama bin Laden offered his services in the Mujahideen to Saudi Arabia. After all, he's a Saudi national. He said, hey, we done fought wars like this before. The Saudis were like, yeah, we cool. We got the largest, most technologically advanced military mercenary army in the world. The U.S. says they on the way. Thanks for the offer, dude. But yeah, the U.S. said they'll take it. And Osama bin Laden was like, you're going to bring tens of thousands of infidels to the holiest of lands in the Middle East? Tens of thousands with all their weapons? This is sacrilege. This is blasphemy. We always knew you Saudis wasn't solid, but oh, y'all done took it to a whole new level. It was one thing when you had those Americans coming over here as tourists. You're going to let them build a base? Oh, no, ain't going to be. No, you done tore it. And that's when Osama bin Laden's like, look here, America. Y'all need to pack up them bases and them tanks and head them on out. The war is over. You're not going to be sticking around. I ain't bull jiving with you. Get them up out of here. You're not going to occupy us. And America said, well, the Saudis sure do welcome our presence, sir. And bin Laden said, well, I don't. And if you don't move, I'm going to move you. And that's when we start having things like the USS Cole and the bombings in Kenya and Nairobi. That's when that happens at the U.S. embassies. That's when that occurs. After that, That's the late 90s. America had done all kinds of things up to that point. And they've always got an excuse for doing it. And then they fed you all an overly simplistic thing. In 9/11, it was sickening to hear. They hate us because we're Westerners. They hate us because we're winners. What kind of garbage is this? And the only folk who really spoke about it in mass against it were black folk. This is silly as hell. They're upset because you're over there occupying their territory. You're stealing their oil. Literally, that's what you went into Iraq for. In 91, that was a war for oil. And everybody knew it. But in 91, everyone played dumb, even though we all knew it. You were there, Elizabeth. There's a war for oil, and everyone knew it. We have no national security interest in Iraq, but Exxon does. So off you go. Okay, so Osama bin Laden wasn't playing dumb. He's like, y'all came over here to get the damn oil. Nah, you just hate us because we're super cool and we swaggy. So that's what that means when you say they hate Western civilization. Well, we're just super cool and swaggy because we're Christians and we got Levi's. So they just hate us because we're super cool. Nonsense. They've been dealing with this for decades now. Decades. So what were they supposed to do? They're getting bombs and missiles dropped on them, and we're over here watching Seinfeld. At some point, the chickens will come home to roost. And the problem, Elizabeth, if I do take issue with your response, was that you gave the white solidarity answer. The one that is collectively agreed on. When we talk about that, we know it's not true, but this is the explanation that we have collectively agreed on. So this is the one we're going with. As opposed to, you know the history, or at least if you didn't, now you do, Bob. You lived it, so you should know all this before. Baby, you know we didn't, you know the Arabs didn't come over, quote, Arabs and Muslims, they didn't come over here first. They didn't do that. They were chilling like villains over there. They were straight. America comes meddling in the Middle East for 4 decades? What the hell were those people supposed to do? They coming over here. Damn it, we've been coming over there for decades. They're just supposed to sit? Well, yes, you should accept this abuse because that's where you belong. Really? Yes, you should be okay with us abusing you. Really? Really? So at what point does it stop? By the way, did you notice other people don't have that problem? Please tell me where, okay, if Western civilization, if the Muslims are just these titanic marauders, barbaric marauders who go everywhere they go, causing havoc and they're spreading like a plague and a disease, please tell me where the Muslim threat is in Mexico. Please tell me where the Muslim threat is in South America, Central America. Show me the bombings in Australia. Show me the Muslim threat in Indochina. Show me where that's happening. I'm not talking about, oh, there were some illegal immigrants who came over here. I'm talking about the same 9/11. Show me where that's happening to anybody else. You have two examples, one in America and one in London. Yeah, 9/11 in America, and then you had that event with the bombing of the subways in London. You ain't got nobody else going through that. How the hell is the whole continent, South America, they're not messing with them. Canada, they're not messing with them. Greenland, not messing with them. Australia, not messing with them. If it's about dominance and taking over, that dominance and conquest thing I mentioned before, okay, Elizabeth, if it's about that, why are they not going to these soft targets like these other places then? If it's just about, well, they're just a bunch of warlike marauders. If that's the goal, if that's really their motivation, baby, why are they AWOL in these other places then?
I don't know.
You do. Yes, you do know. Yes, you. Come on, don't do that. Yeah, you do know.
Okay, tell me.
Tell me when Mexico has invaded the Middle East.
Oh, well, they've never done that.
Okay, name the country in South America that has invaded the Middle East.
None of them.
When has Australia invaded the Middle East? Greenland invaded the Middle East. Yeah, man, that's the element that's missing. They just don't like the West. Yeah, because we invade everybody.
Well, I agree with you, but you're assuming I'm white.
I'm assuming you're what?
White.
I'm assuming you're white. This is going to be fun. I'm not going to put you on camera, Elizabeth. I'm not going to do that. But baby, if you're not white, you'll do till the white woman gets here. And you and I have talked before. You were white before. What are you now?
I mean, I'm Spanish, but I'm also indigenous.
Okay, baby, that's white. Spanish is not a race, and indigenous is not a race either. Just like Hispanic is not a race. You can be you can be Afro Latino. You're also white Latino. So Hispanic's not a race, indigenous is not a race, and Spanish is not a race.
Well, I'm white, but
okay, thank you,
but not completely.
No, baby, you're completely white. You're completely white. That experience you had back in college with Nipsey Russell, that don't count. So you might have went on a date with Sidney Poitier back in the day, but you're white. And you know what, Elizabeth? And that's fine. That's great. That's wonderful. You're fine just like you are. And your opinions and your thoughts are equally as valid just like you are. You don't have to become something else. You don't have to de-white yourself, de-Europeanize yourself, de-Caucasize. You don't have to do that. You're fine. You're perfectly fine just like you are. The only thing that we require is everyone else needs to be treated exactly the same way.
I agree.
But your whiteness is not a negative. So I want you to understand that concept. Among us, your whiteness is not a negative. There's nothing wrong with being white. It's an incidental characteristic and a condition of history, in the words of Dr. John Henry Clark. There's nothing wrong with being white. There's everything wrong with being a white supremacist. There is not a single thing wrong with being a white person, but there is everything wrong with being a white supremacist. Now,
well, I know the Spaniards have been very, very mean.
Well, you know what? Everybody's been mean to us. I mean, we are the only people who have never taken up arms against the American government. What? We are the only people who have never taken up arms against the American government. Now, you figure that government would see us as the most patriotic of Americans, and we absolutely were overrepresented in the military. We have fought more of their wars than their white children have. And yet this government we are public enemy number one to this government. The people who have never taken up arms and represent their military, and look at the gratitude we've received.
I agree. Since I've been listening to all these black channels, I was surprised that you guys were so loyal to America, as bad as they've treated you.
Well, historically, because the whole point was that our grandfathers and whatnot figured that eventually the country would reciprocate. That if we took the abuse and the beatings long enough, these good white liberals over here told us, well, you take it easy, take it slow. Eventually the country will catch up to you and we'll see the injustice of it and will reciprocate. And we waited and waited and waited and waited. Well, guess what? My generation, Gen X, started it. We're done waiting. We're not sitting out and holding out for people to find religion. They know what they're doing to us. You have a whole system that is set up to deprive us of resources. Systemically down the line, whether you're 80 years old or 8 months old, everything around us is set up to deprive us of resources. So rather than having a militaristic war against us, they have a socio-economic war against us where the goal is to make us wither on the vine. Starve you and deprive you of resources like they're doing the Gazans over there in Palestine. Do that to you. And eventually you'll have no choice. This is how gentrification works. This is why in most major cities, where are the black folk at? South side, west side. Socioeconomically, they're pushing you around. They deprive you of resources until you have no choice but to leave. Or you end up in a place like New York State, Florida, California, where losing your house doesn't just mean you have to move to a different street. It means you have to move to a different state. When you get evicted in New York now, you're evicted from the state, not a street. And that is a conscious effort. That's not accidental. Baby, you can't have something that happens to whole segments of the population and it's accidental. You can't have something so happen so uniformly and so systemically and it's accidental. I mean, you can have that happen for like a year. You can't have that happen for a century, but it's a fluke. Okay, this damn fluke is everywhere, but it's a fluke? How the hell? That's not a fluke, ma'am. That's a system. And we were waiting for, our fathers and grandfathers were waiting for it to change. They had been promised that these good white Christians would eventually one day change. They made songs, they made hymns, all of them talking about a day gonna come, a change gonna come, swing low, sweet chariot, one day. We got 1 million hymns saying that. My generation said, yeah, we waited long enough. That's all.
Well, I don't blame you. I mean, I don't blame you for feeling that way.
Well, trust me, it'll be better off for all of you. Thank you very much for checking in with us. We appreciate that. Yes, sir. We are a gracious lot over here. We are a gracious lot over here. So, yes, I talked to her for a minute because we're extending some white privilege. So, if you want to know what things will look like right there, it's like, don't worry. Even when we're in charge, you will not be mistreated. So, your grannies are perfectly welcome to give us a call up here. And don't worry. We got to check the format there. I can't do it all the time, people. Don't get carried away. Oh, you give out white privileges. And then they start lining up. Wait now. Hold on. We have to ration out the privilege now. Don't all of you show up at once. Come on now. Don't overdo it. All right. I got a bunch of folk here on Zoom. Let me just give out some female privilege here right quick. So we did the white privilege thing. Let me give us some female privilege right quick to Nisi. All right, Nisi, there you go. What's on your mind? Unmute yourself. She's working on this newfangled technology. All right, Nisi is working to figure out this newfangled technology here. Can you hear me now? There you go. All right, Nisi, what's on your mind?
All right. I had a quick statement to make, but that damn Elizabeth, she's a damn troll. She was on another live last night. But anyway, that's not the point.
Well, she wasn't trolling me, and she minded her manners. So in that regard, I mean, that's the most I can ask for. And by the way, I make trolls call up all the time. So she minded her manners.
Well, my quick statement is Tatum Tots chose to be a coon, and I'll leave with this. Fuck him. He had it coming.
And going. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. She echoes my sentiments. Yeah, old Tatum is trying to call out racism when it's directed at him. Now, for the rest of us, ain't no racism. But, if he gets hit with it, look at all this racism. There was no racism in America until he got hit with it. All right, we got Chili here on Zoom. Chili, what's on your mind?
What's going down with you, JB? What's going down with your aunt?
All right, brother, what's on your mind?
Nah, man, you kicking game like a preacher, man. I ain't gonna lie. I hope they do know, man. It's 2025, man. We do see them, man. And if they don't know, now they know. We do see them. We ain't blind to the fact anymore, man. I just want them to know all that cooning and buffooning and the tethering that is being noticed is being documented day in and day out. I do hope they know it's kind of easy to see it nowadays with these phones. So it's going to be easy to document it, screenshot it, and put it out there. And I think they still think everybody's slow around this month.
Yeah, back in the day of broadcast TV and radio, you had to hope that the host would bring it up or hope one of the corporate people would bring it up, and they never would, of course, because that cooning empowers the system. In the internet age, oh no, there's enough people with enough megaphones to call it out. See, nobody sees Brandon Tatum as, quote, alternative opinion. It's like, no, y'all are coons. Candace Owens can't. The problem is the only place that Brandon Tatum can walk the yard, pardon the expression because we know he was a former cop, the only place he can walk the yard is in white supremacist society. He can't get a room full of black folk. The problem with the token Negroes is the only place they can get a crowd of people is white people. They can show up at the Turning Points USA or a CPAC. What they can't do is get a room full of black folk. Now that they can't do. Without being able to do that, they are useless. They're useless to us. They're useless to the white supremacists. They're useless. So there's the real problem. All that cooning doesn't make you an influencer.
Man, I hope they do know. Especially with the with old girl Elizabeth, the question she asked. I hope she do know that's to me it's a sensitive topic because she basically, like how you gave all that game out to her about the wars. She do understand that we fought in all the wars and we ain't got to see no books on this shit. They ain't opened the books on nothing that they've been spending this money on, but we gotta be.
Oh yeah, the military budget is a black budget. It's not. The military budget is basically a black budget now. The CIA budget is basically a black budget now. The Department of Homeland Security budget is basically a black budget now. You don't get all the numbers on any of those. Any of them. So it's gone well beyond just the Department of Defense. We got whole apparatuses in government that got blank checks, and congressmen can't see what the numbers are. Even Congress doesn't know and is not allowed to see what the numbers are.
That's why when you said we need a black skull and bone, we need a black coon and bone crusher because we need to know the numbers on these books, man. Where's all these black, man, come on. We need them numbers, man. They leaving us out on purpose and we got to pay taxes for this. Hey, man. I'm just loving that you doing what you're doing, man. You opening up our eyes to this shit because, well, you know, to stay knowledgeable about it, man. Because they think we slow.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Let me see if I can get Leon up here on Zoom. Let me get Leon up here right quick. And yeah, you know, it's important if sometimes we got to stop what we're doing and give us some history lessons here because you got to remember there's a bunch of folk who weren't even born when this happened, folks. You know, certainly not in the 70s. So we got to get folk caught up. Okay, I got Leon here on Zoom. Leon, you might be new around here, so just in case, make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on. The internet is not going to see you. YouTube is not going to see you, but the host does, simply so we make sure we don't have any trolling issues. So as long as I can see you, you're fine. All right, Leon, what's on your mind?
All right, I'm Leon. I'm calling from Kingston, Jamaica.
All right, Leon in Kingston, what's on your mind, brother?
All right, man. On the topic of all of these coons, I'm actually happy that there is such an abundance of coons in the marketplace because that Republican dollar, there's not enough of it to go around.
It never is.
Exactly.
There's a budget, but it's not a huge budget. The huge budget is, you know, for the white guys, but there's a budget, but it's a slim budget. Here's the problem. Niggas come cheap. So there's the only issue with that. Yeah, the budget is slim, but niggas come cheap. Coons come cheap.
Right. And I think this overabundance of coonery is because of the death of the red pill, which was caused partly by people like yourself. You called out the BS, right? But mostly because of the death of Kevin Samuels. And so they had to jump to a new grift. And I guess, you know, tap dancing for conservatives was the easiest thing for these talentless hacks.
Well, for a lot of those folk, they're in pipelines. So like they're tracking the Candace Owenses and whatnot. They track them from school. The reason that Turning Point USA wants access to the schools is because they're hoping to make a coon factory. And the whole point is to have access to the school so they can catch your kids before you had a chance to get them on code or whatever. So that's the real reason they want access to that. They think they're going to make a grade school coon factory and catch them early.
Yeah. And so, but since Trump is in power now, you know, they don't need these coons as proxies anymore. And like you said before, they aren't converting black folks into Republicans. So, they have no need for them anymore. And these recent coons are essentially dumb money. You know what they're saying about dumb money and smart money? Smart money comes in at the beginning, dumb money comes in at the end, and everybody's fighting over crumbs. So these coons are dumb money, and these people are going to be examples to the black community.
Technically speaking, you are correct. Technically, however, you're incorrect tactically. Technically, you're right. Tactically, it's incorrect. Remember, they're waging a war. Yeah, these people are not the best tools. That's for damn certain. The yield has been outrageously low. You feel like you're spinning your wheels. But the alternative is to do nothing at all. So, do you budget for a low-powered device that has nominal results? Or do you just sit there and do nothing at all? And they have chosen not to do nothing. We're going to do something, even if it's not terribly effective. The alternative is do nothing at all. So just understand from their perspective, you're going to be spending money anyway. Maybe it's not going to knock the needle over, but if it moves the needle a little bit, that's better than just sitting here and just letting the Negroes overrun us. So it's better than that. So that's their perspective on it.
I mean, I guess. But a lot of these new coons, they're going to serve as cautionary tales because a lot of them are going to be tap dancing and barely making minimum wage, and they're going to sell their souls for, pennies.
Well, only to a certain degree. They're only going to work if they can get money off of YouTube or something, but like the turning points money and stuff, they're going to go ahead and shut it off because Nick Fuentes blew the damn whistle. He blew the damn cover on them. Hey, y'all were brought in to recruit black folk and you're useless at doing that because black folk don't listen to you. He was speaking for the majority. He was speaking for them. It's like, yeah, y'all are a bad investment. There's really no reason. So if y'all make it on your own, that's one thing, but don't expect us to do a whole bunch of financing on account of the fact that we've settled into the idea that we're not going to get any return on that investment. So going forward, the budgets will be more sparse. These were always coons and tokens, but the dominant society was holding out hope that eventually that these people, oh, well, you look like them, so you'll be able to lead a bunch of them astray, and that didn't happen. And now they've given up on the idea. They're just reserved that, okay, this is never going to occur. Okay, then why we got to keep playing them? We don't. Okay. So going forward, you think day's been lean before? Yeah, look, it's not just Nick Fuentes. The fact that Officer Tatum sitting up here spazzing out like this and whatnot because they're calling that to him in the face. Brother, the word's gotten around. It's not just one person saying it. Yeah, all y'all coons, we don't have to play with you anymore. You're traitorous to black folk and you're useless to us. And that's their perspective on it. The white supremacists know. Why would they trust you? You backstab your own people.
Exactly.
So they played nice with you up until now. Now they just calling you coon to your face. It's like, yeah, you've always been. You were the designated coons for us. Yeah, but now you're just useless. So we're done with you. And they over there like, what? So that's really what you're going to see going forward. There's a bunch of folk getting on YouTube and trying to make a name for themselves there independently and hopefully show up at some events. But as far as these people grabbing you and funding you, giving you seed funding, nah. And they'll collaborate with you so they can have a black person sitting next to them when they spew their white supremacy. But as far as direct funding, I don't see the spigot being on as heavy as it's been before. I think Nick Fuentes speaks for the majority, and they're like, yeah, this is not an investment that really has any return.
Yeah.
Well, brother, I want to thank you for checking in with us here. We appreciate that. Do give us a call again. Checking in from Jamaica. Always like to see that. Let me see if we can grab Huey Freeman. Let me see if we can get Huey Freeman up here. All right, Huey, what's on your mind?
Not much, brother. Wonderful broadcast, as always. The one thing about when you sell out your community, it's like and when you try to go back to like try to call white folks, I was like, you really can't, because one, your paperwork is dirty, and this guy has a dirty paperwork from when Charlie Kirk was around. So at that point, it's like, one, you don't have any support, and two, when black folks look at you, we're not looking at like you as an actual black person. I'm looking at you like Steven from Django, with him and with Calvin Klein.
Yeah, I mean, that's the point I was making the whole time, is that these folk they keep trying to prop up, they're useless. And they're useless because they don't have a black following. The problem with Candace Owens is, baby, you ain't got no black following. A couple of really nerdy kids who might be in high school and politically adept, and you're the only female game in town, but it's not like you really fly like that. But I mean, when they're with the other option is Nikki Haley or Barbara Bush. What? Then okay. But you don't have no real pull. So if they could actually acquire a black audience, they would have been viable. The problem is they were always destined to fail because, in case you white conservatives didn't notice, they have no black following. They have no black support. And that's the whole reason y'all sent these Trojan horses in here, is to get black support. 10 years later, the only thing she's got is a bunch of white men watching her, which is really pulling away from other influencers. So she's dipping into other people's pools and taking away from them. Shout out Daily Wire. They saw that and it's like, oh, hell, this half is actually a negative. Yeah, the only person, the real reason why we didn't worry about it is because the only person she can actually hurt is over there on their side, because that's the only place she has any influence or credibility. She has none among us. She's a pariah among black people. The only place she has credibility is with the white guys. Oh, well, then the only audience she can pull is from them. She ain't going to pull it from over here.
Yeah, that's correct. And the thing is though, like, these sellouts, they've been so comfortable in the house so long, it gets familiar to them. But when they come to us, they don't have that relatability. Like, that's why you don't see a lot of the Jesse Lee Pierce. You don't see a lot of the Larry Elders out. Because to them, like, they look at us no different than they look at the casual racist. So it's like, you can't come to us when things are not going your way, because you already have that familiarity on the other side. You haven't been on the field with us. You haven't been suffered with us. You've been in an elevated position to talk down on us, to tell us what we need to work on, while you're over there with white society making money off of their talking points.
Right. And the real issue is that we encounter white supremacy every day, and that's the obstacle every day. And you're sitting up here coming and talking to us and talking about, I'm one of y'all, ain't no white supremacy. That is a deal breaker. That's a deal killer. We ain't got nothing else to talk about when I'm telling you, I'm showing you what's in my way, and you telling me that's not a problem. What I really need is a white girl and to get my head straight. It's like, okay, yeah, we're not going to play this game anymore. So that's why they were doomed to fail. Their stump speech plays good among white supremacists and nobody else. So they were always obsolete in the failure. They had no black following, no black support. They never had it. And without that, you're just dead in the water. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. We appreciate that. Let me see if I can get iPhone up here on Zoom. All right, we got Timmy up here. Timmy, what's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing? Good evening. So let me get this thing low down. All right. So that's something that's been bothering my mind. And I feel like we have to look into. So I believe it was in Chicago. There was an ICE raid. It's always an ICE raid, but this particular one was different. They actually went in to a black apartment housing, harassing, and they arrested foundational Black Americans. Now, it was around 10 p.m. that they went into these people's buildings.
Folks saw it there, Timmy. Short version. What's your question?
So I would like you to look into that.
Yeah, well, folk have already seen it there. I mean, this is what I told you all here about before. Baby, how is this different from any other day in America? Tell me, okay, police busting in the doors and grabbing innocent black folk. Tell me, how is that different from any other day?
It's kind of different because it was a large amount. And that's the disturbing part.
Okay, baby, do I need to tell you about all the black sites in Chicago, ma'am?
Okay,
I've been doing this summers and winters, baby. You've been following me too long to have this rookie talk. They got the police departments in Chicago got whole black sites. They snatch niggas up off the street all the time, way before now. The Chicago police been snatching up folk and you being disappeared in the buildings. Nobody knows where the hell you at. They're not taking you to the police station. They're taking you to some warehouse over here. They've been doing stuff like that to us. So that was way, but that wasn't no Donald Trump either. This is under Richard Daley and Lori Lightfoot. Okay, that's what's been happening to us. So that's what I'm saying. That's another day in America.
Well, now they're using ICE as a face, not a face of it, but they use it as a.
Well, yeah, I mean, some folks put up a video here talking about Elias, the governor Pritzker, talking about, oh, if ICE is doing out there, go ahead and put a video, and somebody put up a video talking about, hey, governor, here's video of your sheriffs helping ICE. What?
Yeah.
So, yeah, baby, that's in case y'all didn't know, these are political games. It's political theater. The boots on the ground. Follow the money and show me the results. It looks the same. It always looks the same. The politicians are not playing against each other. They're playing against you.
Yeah, I'm also kind of worried because that they're trying to call up the National Guard. Actually, they have used some of the National Guard. Problem is I'm in the National Guard.
Okay, once again, how's that any different?
It's not.
My whole thing is turn up the heat, baby. You are in a hard-headed society that pretends to be hard of hearing.
Yeah, I see a lot.
And the whole point is getting people's attention is too damn difficult. So when you let the heat get turned up like this, where they can't hear anything else except the flames, now they'll pay attention to it.
Right.
And you can't just do this for just one day. This has to be every day. This has to be a daily diet until people have had enough of it and are like, we're not going to sit here and play this game anymore. Because us talking to them didn't work.
Right. But how do you go against ICE? Those people, I feel like they are criminals. Like, they just pick some average, crazy old white Joe and just be like,
Timmy. Y'all, that's, I forget, what is that? Is that the Ghanaian, Jamaican side? Which side is that talking right now, Timmy? Which side is that talking?
No, this is Nigerian.
Okay. You part what?
A full Nigerian, both sides.
Oh, okay. Then that's the Nigerian side talking, baby. What she say? Both sides. It's pick a side. Oh, that's the Nigerian side talking. ICE is criminals. Okay. What she say, y'all? That's that Nigerian side talking. She's. When they go off in their little chat rooms and little Facebook groups, y'all know how it goes over there. I like Jason and everything, but he's wrong about this ICE thing here. Y'all know how that go. Let me see Jason, but he's wrong about this ICE thing here. He just understand. It's bad. It's bad. All right. So, ma'am, look here. The bottom line is you can't do anything to us. We're citizens.
Right.
We are citizens. Okay, but here's the other thing right here. Well, Jason, why is it this part right here doesn't bother you as much? I didn't say it didn't bother me. I didn't say that. What I am saying is, damn it, they've been doing this.
Right.
This is not new. They've been doing this. So this idea that you're going to tell me turn off because what you're describing is turning off the heat for everybody. And at this point, hell no. I'm not turning off the heat for everyone. This is not something we desire here, but damn it, no. The heat stays on. It stays on. Let it boil. Let it cook. If some black folk get picked up, we can prove our citizenship.
Right.
And if something does happen to you, lawsuit incoming. And you gonna get paid for real, for real. Abrego Garcia ain't got a leg to stand on. You here illegally. Oh, I'm a citizen. You can try some garbage if you want to. I'm a citizen. I'm not guessing how this is going to end. I'm telling you how it's going to end. So we're citizens. The most you can do with us is harass us. What you can't do is deport us.
Right.
So that's not an issue that we have. So harassing us, they've been doing that. And I want folk to remember that you are still in the system of white supremacy. So, and that this is what they can do. But no, this idea that they just started doing this year? Come on, baby. You know they ain't gonna fly. They didn't just start doing that this year. Donald Trump didn't introduce this ability. You got stop and frisk in New York, and they tried it in LA, and you got various cities around the country. That ain't new. That's way before Trump ever got to the White House. That's another day in America. And truth be told, any cop can pull up on you at any time and start giving you the business. That's not new, and Trump didn't give them that ability. We can talk about the crime bill in 91 and 81, 83 or 84. We can talk about those in 94 and 84. We can talk about that all we want to, but the bottom line is they've been doing that and didn't need a crime bill. They just went ahead and put that in law. All these things we're talking about, but they've been doing that. That's not new. So nobody's going to jump up in 2025 and scare me now and talk about, they can pick up black folk. Okay. Yeah, they've been doing it since 1701. Yeah, they've been rolling up on us.
Right.
Baby, you have a whole legal apparatus, the Innocence Project. You want to talk about wrongly accused and wrongly arrested? Yeah, that's why we got the Innocence Project. That's not ICE. Baby, ICE is not going to do a damn thing to a citizen except harass you. They're not going to do a damn thing beyond that because they can't. They cannot. We are citizens. We might be legal aliens, but we're legal.
Hopefully they sue ICE for that, because I saw that they broke those people's windows, they broke those people's doors, they messed up their apartments. It was messed up. Very disrespectful.
Yeah, Timmy said this on the hope you guys will help us to sue them. Y'all need to sue. Y'all need to sue them. They won't let us do it, y'all. Some of you FBAs, if you could do this, this will go a lot easier here. Just look at Timmy over there smiling. All right. Thank you for giving us a call tonight, Timmy. Yeah, Jason, if we could just, some of you FBAs, I hope y'all sue and stop ICE from doing that. Because, we ain't got enough pull to do that. Maybe y'all can take care of that. All right. We'll get back with you. We'll get back to you on that. We're going to get back to you on that. Gotta stir up some jollof. Get that jollof to boiling over here right quick. Let me finish this pot of jollof right quick, and I'll get back on you with that. All right, let me go ahead and see if we can get Tyler up here. Where's Tyler? All right, let me see if I can get Tyler up here right quick. All right, we got my man Tyler up here. Unmute yourself. What's on your mind, brother?
Yes, sir. All right. Good evening. Good evening. You've been talking about coons, and that feeds right into what I kind of wanted to share tonight. About a week ago, Nick Fuentes went on Patrick Bet You Get It Wrong, David's podcast, and made them bow to the altar of white supremacy.
I mean, Patrick been a white supremacist, so we already covered that, like when he was talking to Roland Martin. So yeah, Patrick bet David been like that, and all I can say now is when folks start bombing his people, all of a sudden it's a different thing then. So Patrick's one of them kind.
Exactly. Early in the podcast, Nick admits the school helped him, his high school helped him to amplify his message. He had a broadcast program on the school his senior year in the high school's television and radio stations. So the battle for hearts and minds begins well before high school graduation. He was putting in work back in high school, Jason.
Yeah, I mean, look, that's what I was saying. They got to track you for an extended period of time. They don't believe you're solid if they can't go back through the paperwork and see. And so you just popping up at 25 years old and talking that, they don't trust you. If they can sit here and check, they like the FBI. They do a background check. They want to see that other folk can vouch for your credentials going all the way back. That this isn't just a fad you jumped on to. No, they want to see that you got a track record that goes back to your formative years. This is how deep in the paint they are with it and how serious they are. This is how real it is to them. So that's why I'm saying what shocked them was when we started the paperwork check. See, before now, we didn't do that. It's like, well, you black like us, we give you the benefit of the doubt. It's like, nah, new day. Paperwork check. Candace Owens, oh no, half of your paperwork came back dirty. Dirty as hell. Get your ass up out of here. Hodgepodge twins, all your paperwork dirty. Move, nigga. Brandon Tatum, I ain't your damn brother. Get your ass up out of here. Paperwork dirty as hell. And so now you see what the hell done happened. Everybody's looking all crazy and silly and stupid. And the real thing is the coons are trying to scramble and grab as much money off the table as they can before the money dries up completely. The white supremacists are done with them, bro. They're not going to, having them around, they're entertaining to a certain extent. But the bottom line is if you can't recruit black people to shore up the white supremacist numbers because they're woefully outnumbered, if you can't ultimately do that, you serve no purpose. I mean, you're entertaining, but beyond that, there's no reason to keep you around if you can't tip the scales of the numbers in their advantage. If you can't do that, no, we can get our entertainment on Netflix.
And Jason, we've got unadulterated proof that cooning is not a harmless thing. Late in the middle part of or still early in the interview, this is the main part. He goes on to say, Nick, he's on the podcast, says, that his white supremacist beliefs were directly inspired because Pat asked him, like, when did this all start? It started with the book by Thomas Sowell. So Nick Fuentes, the white supremacist, is claiming that from what I heard in the interview, he's claiming that Thomas Sowell is playing a big part in what he's got going on. So
yeah, I don't believe any of that nonsense whatsoever. So they come up with these little talking points. They try to grab him, you know, and that other coon, who ain't really an academic that Megyn Kelly was talking about. So, like I say, they try that, but no, it's white supremacy comes in the home. Nick Fuentes doesn't show up in high school. Nick Fuentes, do you realize what you have to groom to make that happen? Especially with the last name Fuentes. Do you realize that comes from the home, man? You don't get that any other way.
Man. Last but not least, Jason, Trump is putting pressure on my alma mater, USC, to either join with the dark side or suffer the consequences. And this is going to be interesting to see how they respond to white supremacy attempting to extend itself, like you say, into the next 200 years. So white supremacy out here throwing bows, black empowerment up, white supremacy down.
I'm telling y'all here, the Republicans and Trump, they're digging themselves in such a gigantic hole. It's going to be ridiculous. It really, really will. People, when Trump is out of office and can't meddle anymore, the academic establishment is going to come crushing down like a bear trap. You thought your so-called leftist liberal professors and administrators were bad before? You think they're not going away? You're not going to replace them all with a bunch of PragerU apparatchiks. Can you imagine what they're going to do? Can you imagine what the Harvard endowment, can you imagine what it's going to look like? People, can you imagine what it's going to be like with the attorneys? Now, that's the one you really need to watch. The attorneys around America are furious. When you become an attorney, they consider themselves members of an elite fraternity. And Trump has directly targeted them. Can you imagine what a bunch of pissed off lawyers are going to do when he's out of office? Right now, it's not called a blacklist. I forget the exact name for it. But right now, they're making a list of every lawyer that is working in conjunction and cooperating with Trump. All of them is being passed around the legal field right now. You all can go look this up. Don't believe me. Trump's people know it. That the legal field is making a list. Any lawyer that helps him in any way. That's why so many people in the Justice Department have been okay getting fired. U.S. attorneys, they're all lawyers. Well, guess what? They've been okay getting fired. Because that signals to the legal establishment, I didn't go along with him. So they're okay getting fired. They'll be in the wilderness for a couple of years, but they'll be all right. Because when he's out of office, anybody who rolling with him, they gonna get the work. Imagine being an attorney who is a damn pariah in that industry. And brother, not just for the attorneys, for the judges. At the city level, state level, federal level, he's making enemies of everybody. And if you roll with him, man, you're on the list now. So I just want y'all to know, as far as the schools are concerned and stuff like that, it's like, okay, he's going to harass y'all for a day. It's going to be another thing coming. When those people are back in the driver's seat, you thought they were bad before. You just thought they were. Oh, man. Wait till, and they're going to have 3 years to cook up whatever devious, demonic stuff they're going to do. They got 3 years to come up with it. Do you really think that these law firms that Trump's Justice Department sued, do you really think they're going to let them get away with that? Do y'all really think that's going to happen? Come on.
Big backlash.
It's going to happen. He's having his fun today at the expense of literally everybody around him. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. I just want y'all to understand, by the way, just like right now, he's got all this sound and fury going. He doesn't have any friends. As soon as he's out of office, man, they're coming. They're going to be like, our turn. When he gets out of office, just understand they going to jump up and they going to be like, okay, it's our turn now. It's our turn. And no Justice Department, no pardons or nothing else to save you. You thought we were on your ass before civilly? You thought we was on your ass back then? Oh, dude. Folks, at these big law firms, don't you know that they will assign an associate to you? What? Don't you know that's the way it works? At these big law firms, they will assign an associate just for you. You look into them, you investigate them. These law firms got billions of dollars. They'll assign an associate lawyer for you. Like, you're assigned to Trump. What's the case? Find one. You really want that? You want the smoke? Okay. He wasn't doing so good 2 years ago when they came after him. And that was just, a couple of district attorneys. The whole legal field's going to be out for blood this time. For him and his whole family. I want y'all to know it's going to be some mafia stuff. They're going to come after Trump, his sons, daughters, Jared Kushner. Everybody going to get it. If there's any way to get you, they going to get you. I would not want to be him or any of his henchmen or flunkies or lackeys in 2028. I wouldn't want to be any of them. Let's see if we can go ahead and get Omari up here on Zoom right quick. All right, Omari, what's on your mind?
Hey, B1, Brother Jason. Thank you for the great broadcast. Appreciate it. 2 points. One, just a quick side note. Jake Shields, the suspected white supremacist, not that suspected, he's really tight with the Diaz brothers. So make of that what you will. I try to stay neutral on that and fuck with the Diaz brothers, but the more I see them still associating with Jake Shields, we judge people by the company they keep. So that's a problem right then in and of itself. Going to the subject of Brandon Tatum, I'm not sure what his lineage is, but I just had a question for you, and it's slightly off topic. Speaking of coons, speaking of the foreign coons, it's slightly off topic, but is there a broadcast I can listen to of yours in your playback, Jason, where you talk about the history of chattel slavery in Africa? Because why is it that the tethers from Africa, they have this thing where they mock us for being slaves in America, and they act as if chattel slavery never existed on the African continent. What is that?
It's willful denial. I mean, first of all, it still exists there today. That's the first thing. I mean, it's not like it's over. It still exists there today. So the real thing is they've been allowed the luxury of having this delusional image of themselves, and they really aspire to that because that's what white supremacy does here. I'm white and I say so. So it's whatever their lie is they want to tell here, everybody got to go along with it. So these folk have tried to erect their own version of it. To them, that's power. Creating a false reality. Oh, that's power. But it's the same thing it's always been. This is why they don't want to have discussions with us about that. So when they do have these conversations, they have them with each other, either over there or they talk to somebody who's a descendant of them over here, but they don't really have that conversation with us. And certainly not with anybody who knows half a wit about anything. So when you take a look at these things online, that's why we remind you, when you see that kind of stuff jump up, they're usually talking among their own people. Whether they're from over there or whether it's somebody who's descended from them over here, that's what usually happens. But if you ever get them out of that element, though, it goes down quickly. It falls down very, very quickly. So this is just a phony myth that they've created, and they know it's not true. What they're hoping is you don't know. Charlie Kirk wasn't smart. He was just hoping that you didn't know. And that's why when he went to Cambridge and Oxford, he got his ass handed to him when he went to real schools and wasn't talking to college freshmen. He got his ass broken open to the point that he didn't want to go back. Well, yeah, this is what happens when you're not talking to high school seniors. Yeah, when you're talking to somebody who actually knows something, it doesn't go bad, it goes disastrously. And these other folk play the same damn game. So we're living in an age of propaganda wars. And once again, to remind you all, the primary tactic in the propaganda wars among these people who practice like that, they don't do it like us. We get our facts and figures and we're ready for reality. These other people have adopted a strategy of lying. Lie big, lie completely, and hope the lie gets so far and goes so deep that the truth can't really penetrate it when you start putting it out there. So that's what everybody's trying to do today. Spread lies as far and as fast as they can. And they're like, oh, well, warfare is deception. So this is legitimate warfare here, just deceiving everybody. But they know what the truth is. They're just hoping you don't.
And when they try to rag on us and talk about our like these stereotypes against us, the tether class, I mean, they point to the white supremacists and talk about the stereotypes that the white supremacists say about us. But whenever you're online and you're looking at these really weak, lame white supremacist memes and jokes, they're almost always 99% of the time about some displaced, primitive, backwater tribe in Africa that we don't even have any association with. Like, do the tethers understand that the white supremacists use their lowest points as cannon fodder to attack us? They always reference Africa when they're calling us, jungle bunnies or whatever.
Well, no, they don't, because remember, they are so tribal over there that no matter what insult you make about quote unquote Africa, what's the first thing that they will tell you? Well, I'm not from Africa. I'm from Kenya. I'm from Ethiopia. So it's like, if the white supremacist isn't specifically talking about Kenya or specifically talking about Ethiopia or specifically talking about Somalia, they tell themselves in their heads, oh, he's not talking about me. Oh, I agree with him. Them Kenyans is messed up over there. Them Ethiopians is messed up over there. So you have folk in Nigeria. Oh, the Igbo are messed up. No, the Yoruba is messed up. No, the Husafalani. No, the Delta. So they make this, compartmentalization and partition in their heads. Oh, they're not talking about me. They're talking about them other guys over there.
And the Caribbeans do the same. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
that's the game everybody else plays. We're the only ones who fight white supremacy globally. We fight it as a whole organism. Everybody else is trying to figure out how they can reach equilibrium with it and how they can live in denial of it and disown reality. Because the alternative is, and this is what they don't talk about, they are invested in the system, or at least invested in aspiring to it. They are invested in aspiring to it, and to go to war against it means to give up the idea that you can achieve quasi-whiteness or white acceptance. That's what they're afraid of. They're afraid that they're not happy where they're at, and they're ashamed of where they're from. They are ashamed of where they're from. And so getting next to whiteness is redemption. When they talk to us, all they hear is, you gonna mess up my redemption. You're telling me to give up my redemption. How white daddy gonna love me? And I'm like, I don't care what you call love. I know he doesn't respect you. He respects us.
Doesn't like us, but he respects us.
Oh, he respects us. The mother folk over there, yeah, he likes you. He doesn't respect you. Us, he doesn't like us, but he respects us. I'll take that. I'll take that right there. Right there. I don't have to be liked by him. Candace Owens is liked right up until the moment she isn't. And then as soon as she wasn't, what they call her, coon, token, Sambo, they don't talk that way to us. Because they can't. First of all, they would never be in a room with us talking that way. But second of all, the Candace Owens sitting down with Nick Fuentes, like, you're my dog. He treated her like his dog. They wouldn't do that with us. Like, wait a minute, those are them stand-up black folk over there. Yeah, you no, we don't do that. First of all, they're not coons. First of all, they're not coons and Sambos. These are the real ones. But second of all, you're taking yourself in your own hands if you try that. But they would never say that to us because they understand that we're not.
Just one more quick point, Jason Black. Brother Treat did a great broadcast about this anti-black Korean that just got, he was on Twitter whining about how he got fired for attacking a black critic of Charlie Kirk's. And it got me curious. Drew did a great breakdown about how white supremacy has affected Korean culture. And it just blew my mind when Creek was dropping these facts about how the Koreans, they get heavy on the eye adjustment surgery to adjust their eyes, and the skin bleaching when even though they're very pale, how they're women bedwench. But as he was talking, I'm thinking like everything that he's saying, there's some permutation of it all throughout Asia, whether you're talking about the Indians bleaching their skin, whether you're talking about the Japanese with their blonde-haired, blue-eyed anime characters. And then you compare that to the
whether you're talking about the Filipinos and their Spanish surnames.
So when are the Asians going to get quote unquote their
They're not
dismissal? They're not. Oh, you don't think so?
No, I mean Asians
they still
come
do the model minority thing.
No, Asians come from an assimilationist society, so that has been historically endemic to their culture. So colonizers didn't really have to fight with them because they understood they were dealing with people who, if you go to war with them, they can be problematic, but ultimately they respect power. They understood how to play the game among the Asians, particularly in Japan. And so they did what they always do. They mentally colonized them. But the bottom line is Asian cultures are different from us. We have a culture of resistance. Asians have a culture of assimilation. They always have. When you go from one, shogunate in Japan to another, from Toyotomi to Ieyasu Tokugawa or whoever, switching and assimilating has always been the thing. They've always had to be able to do that. Remember, Japan had a warring states period, so did China. You can look up both of them. Think about that for a few moments. Two nations, and both of them had a warring states period. Yeah, but what happened after the warring states period was over? You don't have tribalism in those places like you do in other places. Did you notice that was the result? So they've done, in the Middle East, you can't get them to gel together to this day. In Africa, you can't get them to gel together to this day. They fought bloody warring states periods over there, and they're homogenized today. So geography is the issue for them, not Asianness. And so for them, that's how they've always gotten along and always done that. So assimilating has always been very important for them. We've always had a resistance to it because we are an oppressed people. So there isn't something in white supremacy that we're trying to get invested in. Asians also like Asians also have a culture of imperialism. They have a culture of that too. So you see, when they got together with the white folk, they're like, oh, you're more like, we got more in common than we thought we did. See, you and I do not have legacies of imperialism. We don't have legacies of trying to build empires like that. We don't have that. The Asians do. So you see, it's like, well, when they talk to the Europeans try to flex about empire, and the Asians start flexing and say, by the way, you do know Genghis Khan had the largest empire on earth, not the Romans, not the Greeks. The largest empire by geography and peoples was Genghis Khan. That was the largest in history, not white people. So you see right there, that's the Asians popping their collar. And then the white folk will tip their damn hat. It's like, by the way, we know the Asians are right. See, that's the corner of the realm that has value to them. So you see that's when the Asians start comparing themselves to white folk. That's why I worked with Nazi Germany. Oh, we got more in common with the Gaijin than we thought.
Would you say they have the respect like we do, even if they don't like the Asians? Would you say they're in the similar sport, but they don't like them, but they respect them, unlike the tether class in the Caribbean and Africa?
I think that they find Asians to be useful, but I do not think they respect them. I spoke to Jared Taylor. He lived in Japan. That is true. However, Jared Taylor, if you saw my documentary film Race War, yeah, Jared was talking that stuff about the Asians and minority, and they better than the black folk because they study hard and this, that, and the other. I said, I'm very glad to hear that. Asians are the predominant people in all of your Silicon Valley startups and your technology companies. Why is it that there are 0 Asians running them? And he's like, well, maybe they don't have the managerial skills. Maybe me ass. You just said all the accolades they had. So what he did, like I said, these people are not master debaters. They're not geniuses. Just stop. What he showed is that, yes, the same game all the damn time. The Asians are useful, but they better keep their place. So the Asians are fine. When you hear these white sex tourists and whatnot, when they talk about Asia, brother, they talk about how the women are submissive. Oh, they're not like these white women over here. They're not. What does that mean? They're submissive. So when they see a white man, he feels like she's serving him. He puts a high premium on that. So that's the accolade that he calls out for them. Quote, submissive. And don't get it confused. He does not mean submissive the way you do. Just like he does not mean free the way you do. He does not mean submissive the way you do either. You're both using the same word. He means something different. And she kind of worships him because he's white. Not admires him. She kind of worships him. See, if he doesn't see that, there's a problem. So after World War II, that was really the reception they started getting. Asian females were kind of worshiping them to the extent that, yeah, Japanese men can't get in because the Asian females are holding out for a white dude if he's available. I mean, they'll take a little Japanese dude if they don't get nothing else, but if there's a white man in the room, he gonna get first dibs. He gonna get first dibs. So that's the society that they come from, and to the dominant society here, that's useful. It will become unuseful if they ever forget their place. Now, if they ever start trying to get outside of that, watch the whole society flip back the way they were in 1941. Watch the whole thing flip back. And it will not take 10 years neither. It'll flip back in a day. What does that tell you? Oh, they had this mindset the whole time. They've been carrying this mindset the whole time. It just takes a certain event to set it off. They are on code, and if Asians get out of their place, they're going to remind them that they're on code. Yeah, we haven't been talking about you like we do the niggas, but yeah, we remember you. And if you ever get out of your place, we're going to remind you where your place is.
I'll land my plane, Jason, but just want to say that analysis you did back in the day about the Asian white supremacists, and you broke down Attack on Titan, the anime. Jason, I got to give you your flowers for that one. I still got to go back and re-listen to that one. When you broke down that anime and making the African comparisons, and that was just amazing, JB. That was deep. I still got to go re-listen to that one to pick up some more nuggets of knowledge. So B1, brother. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Yeah, there's a whole bunch you can learn there, folks. The world was colonized, and today is colonized globally, is colonized mentally. That's the best way to do it because that's how you get all of the assets. You get all the benefits from that. Very important when you can do that. If you can get all the benefits from it, that's what you're looking for. If you can get folk to give you their manual labor and their intellectual benefits and you get all the money and they're not fighting you over the profits like that because they're just happy to be sitting at your feet serving you. Oh man, you got the sweet spot. No bullets, no shooting, because folks, you have to remember, war is perilous. War is perilous. The problem with war is that people shoot back. And in the minds of the white supremacists, the worst part about war isn't just the shooting back part. The worst part about war is you blow up the buildings and the infrastructure. Hey, we paid good money for that. What? That's the problem. You're blowing up the civil infrastructure. All those skyscrapers we spent all that damn time building. It takes years to build a skyscraper. A bomb can blow it up in seconds. Hey, stop that. Cost us a whole lot to build that. So how do we conquer you without having to adopt the inherent risk that comes with a hot war, that comes with shooting at people? Because people can shoot back, and some industrious individuals are like, yeah, this gun ain't getting it done. Let me find something that'll blow up. So that's the thing right there. It's more valuable to conquer people mentally, conquer them psychologically, because you've precluded them from doing that nasty shooting back thing. If you can convince them that this is where they're supposed to be the whole damn time, do you realize how many levels of difficulty and adversity and problems you've eliminated? You can't make money when folks are shooting at you. You can make money if you got some folks shooting at each other over there somewhere. But it doesn't work for you. Now you're risking getting shot. You risking getting took out. No. Let's try to keep that from happening. How do you do that? Can we psychologically dominate them? If we can, then they won't even think about rising up. They won't even think about resisting. Does this sound familiar to the old psychological narratives? What they expected from the slaves, what their ideal result would be, is that the individual would, they said this in the Confederacy, they said this, Alexander Stevenson, that they've been trying to make it where we would simply accept that as our natural default position and station in life. Their entire goal has been to get us to accept servitude and domination as our rightful and proper place in life. That's what it's always been about. That's the only thing it's ever going to be about. As far as they're concerned, the job is not done until we are either completely dominated or destroyed, one or the other. If we cannot be dominated, we should be erased. But how do we get them to do that? And they are still working on it to this day. How do we get them to accept the psychological brainwashing? How do we get them to be tools of servitude and to accept that, yeah, you're in a really low position, but this is where you belong? So you really can't be mad about it. I mean, you can't handle anything bigger. You should just be happy you're here. We gave you a spot, and we need you to get comfortable, and we need you to accept this as your proper place. We need you to roll with it. And they're still working on that to this day. That's what it's always been about, is what it will always continue to be. How do we get these Negroes to go along with the program? That religion thing worked for a long time, doesn't work anymore. That religion thing, that was their hook for a while, people. Now that's wearing off. Oh, you can't use that one anymore? So, wow, that worked great for a while. What, the current generation ain't feeling it? Oh, man. They're talking about tangibles? Oh, boy. So if I tell them God said, don't worry about tangibles, you'll be great. Oh, they ain't going for that? Wow. I really like their parents more. Their grandparents love that. Oh, these kids today, they're rough to deal with. So just understand what the real goal is. Understand what they're really after. Understand what the real goal is. And more than anything else, people, if I can give you one thing, please stop extending the quote unquote benefit of the doubt. Stop assuming that people have good motives for saying and doing terrible things. If y'all want to shake that coon gene off yourself, stop assuming honorable motives for people who are obviously doing terrible things. They don't have honorable motives. They know what they're doing. They're not deceived, and it's not accidental. They know what they're doing. Every white supremacist knows what they're doing. Every person who says ain't no racism knows they're lying. Every coon knows they're cooning. So stop fooling yourself, because that's the only person you're fooling. Stop fooling yourself that, oh, they don't actually know what they're doing. They don't actually know what they mean. Yes, they do. Every single one. What they're hoping is you'll play dumb, but they know what they're doing. Every single one of them. Every single time. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. As always, I want to thank everyone who has contributed for tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shy here to Clutch Guns. I think he sent some Canadian dollars here. So next time I'm up in Toronto, I'm going to make it rain. FBA Queen is always giving out memberships, the gift that keeps on giving. Thank you very much for that as well. We appreciate that. Project Leroy, Paul E. Thank you very much as well here. Third Eye Open. Thank you very much for your support as well. And to everyone, Carlette, thank you all very much for tuning in and joining us. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. Hopefully we have earned you giving us a like and a subscription. If you like tonight's program, hopefully we have earned your like and your subscription. And if we haven't earned it tonight, hey, come back tomorrow night. Stick around. Maybe we can get it then. But if you don't want to miss us, I highly suggest and recommend that you become subscribers to the channel and make sure you stay on top of it here. The information and analysis and insight you'll receive nowhere else. Let me explain to you, especially to my white members of the audience, my non-black members of the audience, there's a reason that you all tune in. The reason that you tune in is because you know that what you hear over here, this is what black folk are really thinking. You know Candace Owens is not telling you what we really think because she's not really with us. So Y'all, the benefits you get from having us here is, you get to hear what black folk really think. You're not hearing some coon giving you a line. You get to hear what the street really believes. And so when you start looking at elections, you actually can properly understand why things unfolded the way they did. So just recognize what your real benefit is today. And make sure you tune in to us as well. You wouldn't want to miss anything. If you haven't been to our website, blackchannelfilms.com, check out our groundbreaking best-selling documentary work, blackchannelfilms.com. As always, I'd like to thank you all for tuning in live or recorded. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of The Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future and the future is uncompromising.